Hey there, sports history fan. This is Ross Bliley, the host of the Pigskin Tales podcast. Are you looking for that perfect, unique gift for your sports-loving child or grandchild? Or, as you'll find out, it's great for parents and grandparents as well. I'll tell you what, you're in luck, because this episode is brought to you by Racket, the ultimate device for the ultimate fan. It's perfect for any time you need to make some noise. Racket combines a compact 7-inch megaphone, 8 powerful adjustable LED lights, noisemakers, an insert you design, and it's all fully customizable to match your team's colors. The coolest thing about this product is the founder. J.J. Abraham was the ultimate cheer dad, following his daughter's cheer group around the country. He saw parents using all sorts of crazy contraptions to make noise for their kids. And he had an aha moment. He thought, why not combine all of these thingamajiggers into an all-in-one compact device for the ultimate fan? So JJ and his team worked 3 tireless years on developing version after version, finally landing on a Racket. That's R-A-K-I-T. So you can make some noise to be part of the action. Get out there and let's get loud. Bring a Racket to your next game or competition to cheer on your favorite team or athlete. You can customize your Racket with your own logos, drawings, and names. Get beads to match your team's colors. Flashing lights add to the excitement. Are you ready to make a Racket? Be part of the game? Each Racket pack comes with 1 Racket megaphone, 1 lanyard to keep a hold of this thing, 2 scratch-resistant bead packs, 1 clear and 1 color of your choice, and a 10-pack of customizable self-adhesive inserts. Currently on sale for $24.99. To pick up your Racket today, head on over to myracket.com. That's myrakeit.com. Now get out there and make some noise! Soundtrack provided by Edikey from filmmusic.io.
Hello, old sports, and welcome to a special edition of the Hello, Old Sports podcast on the Sports History Network. And I am Dan Newman, co-host of the Hello, Old Sports podcast, and I am joined, not over Zoom, not electronically, but just immediately to my left by my co-host and brother, Andrew Newman. Andrew, how are you doing this Christmas Eve morning?
I am doing well, Dan. As you mentioned, it is Christmas Eve morning. I came down to lovely Crofton, Maryland last night with my parents. So I am currently sitting in your basement where I slept last night, and we are going to do sort of a live review that we've never done before. We've talked about it, but we kind of realized it was only going to work for the most part if we were in the same place. So we are going to give that a try in just a moment, and we'll give you some of the details on how you can watch along.
Yes, and when we first came up with this idea, we were trying to figure out exactly what game we should choose, because there's obviously, it was going to be probably a game of one of our favorite teams. It was going to be the NBA, the NFL, or Major League Baseball, and we were back and forth. We wanted to do something that was on YouTube because we wanted to find something that other people could dial up and actually do the watch-along as they listen to the episode if they chose. We talked a little bit about the Aaron Boone game from 2003. Then we realized that was 5 hours.
Yeah, baseball is a unique problem because A, they're so long, and B, like there's going to be lulls in any game, but so much of baseball is a guy who's up is going to ground out. So It's like, what are we going to, you know what I mean? So baseball probably lends itself the least to a watch along. Not to say we'll never do one, but it's definitely got the highest mountain to climb to do one.
So we settled on Super Bowl 42, which is the greatest victory in New York Giants football history, I think pretty much without question. It has some competition, but largely considered to be the best.
I don't think it's got much competition. I think there's a legitimate case to be made for second for a lot of games. I think Super Bowl 25 definitely has a legit case to be second. I think the 1990 NFC Championship game has a legitimate case to be second due to being a pure road game and who they were playing. And then a few other ones. I mean, obviously I can't...
The sneakers game.
Both of them, 34 and 56.
Uh-huh.
They beat this team again 4 years later in a game that, at least bears discussion. But given both the narrative... There's two parts of it, and we'll obviously have plenty of time to get into both. There's the narrative of this game, which is undefeated Patriots, teams played in Week 17, Giants shook the hell out of them, but ultimately ended up losing. Eli Manning's coming of age. There's all of that. And then there's just the ebb and flow of this game, the stuff that happens in the fourth quarter. To me, it's the perfect synthesis of... I can't even come up with a scenario that anything will ever top this for me as a fan, to be honest. So.
No, and football is definitely number one for you.
Football, number one.
Iron Sheik reference. Football is definitely number one for you. It's probably not for me, and I've seen Yankee championships. I haven't seen any Knick championships, but I had some, great Knick wins during the 90s watching with my buddies from high school and all that stuff. This giant victory over the Patriots 15 years ago is definitely my best, my favorite moment as a sports fan. Just my happiest moment as a fan. And so I think this is a good one. I guess we probably don't want to belabor this, especially because we'll get into
2 hours. Yeah.
We'll get into this in time. But basically, Patriots undefeated. Giants had put a hell of a scare into them on a Monday night or Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night on NFL Network about 4 weeks previous, and the Giants were locked into a playoff spot. They didn't really have anything to play for, but Coughlin put his guys in. He played all out. They almost beat them. They didn't. In fact, in the DVD set of the Giants' postseason run, they start with that loss to the Patriots. That loss to the Patriots at the last game of the season is almost considered a win.
It's the greatest loss in sports history.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, because it gave the Giants the idea that they could play with them.
Yep. So what I would say is we'll hit play. We're obviously going to link to this in all the posts. It's an official NFL. The YouTube video we're watching is from the NFL, so there's no sort of issue with copyrighted streams or anything like that. The NFL put this full game up on their YouTube, and we'll do the link to it. What I think we're going to have is a broadcast here that doesn't have any commercials, but they're also not going to do the tackle then the snap. You know what I mean? We're going to have...
I think there's huddles, yeah.
Which is good because we need to experience the game as it was experienced.
Agreed.
So it's 2 hours and 14 minutes and 31 seconds long, so we should probably get this going before midnight. So we get it done before midnight. So what we'll do is we'll count it down.
Yep.
I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, play. And I'm going to really eat the P and L in play for lunch. So when I say play, as soon as you hear the P in it, hit the play button. Periodically, we'll give time checks, but I don't think anything we're going to do is going to be so critical that if you're a second off either way, but we'll try to match it up as well. So again, I'll go 3, 2, 1, play. Start it at the P and play. All right, 3, 2, 1, play. All right, and we're looking at University of Phoenix Stadium. Steven Gostkowski just put the ball on the tee. They have Dominic Hickson back deep to return for the Giants. So we're not going to go play-by-play in this level of detail, but they're zooming out on the kickoff as all the flashbulbs go off, and we're underway here. It's February 3rd, 2008. Hickson takes it out of the end zone, brings it to the 22, and the Giants' offense comes onto the field. Do you remember where you watched this game, where you were? You were living in D.C. by then, right?
Yeah, I was just home. I was just watching it. I had a couple friends people who I had just sort of met recently.
Mm-hmm.
And people who my friend Jesse and Matt, people I ended up becoming really good friends with. And I remember getting invited to at least one Super Bowl party and just doing it not feeling like I could watch this game, first of all, around anybody who was a Patriots fan, which have, since a lot of my friends are Boston people, that was a big factor for me as they handed off to, who's that, Jacobs?
That was Jacobs. He gets a couple of yards.
Doesn't get much, yeah. So I remember just being like, no, I got to watch this one alone. And I went, and I had been drinking, this is silly, but I'd been drinking Sam Adams for the last 3 playoff games. I would go and get a 6-pack of Sam Adams and have a few Sam Adams. Junior Seau, by the way. That is some linebacking core.
Vrabel, Seau, Brewski, and Adalius Thomas.
Yeah.
And then the secondary, Asante Samuel, Rodney Harrison, Ellis Hobbs had a moment there, or I at least just remember his name.
Yeah.
I could look it up and he wasn't any good, but sorry, go ahead, continue.
And so I went and watched it with, I didn't watch it with anybody who wasn't a Patriot fan, so I watched it by myself, but I couldn't drink Sam Adams, so I drank Anchor Steam beer, which is actually, it's a Bay Area, it's a San Francisco beer. And I always now I associate it with whenever I see it, and I always if I have one, if I get one at a bar or something, I always associate it with Super Bowl 42. And I think you were in college, but you went home to watch with your New York folks, with Andy and the rest of them, right?
Yep, yeah. We got a 3rd and 6 coming up. It's the first drive. I'll get to that in a second. This drive that the Giants have here is both very encouraging and then very discouraging, and we'll explain that as they go on. But 3rd and 6, Eli's in the shotgun. He gets it off. He hits Plaxico Burress over the middle, so it's a first down. The drive continues. So I was in college. It was my senior year of college at LaSalle University in Philadelphia. And I'd been home a little more that year for various reasons. On weekends, one time I came home just to watch the game, and Thanksgiving, I had my car then, so I could go back after the games and stuff. And Thanksgiving was the weekend that they played that Vikings game, and Eli threw the 4 interceptions, and it was so horrible.
And they were burning his jersey in the parking lot.
Yeah. So then it was first down, and Eli hits
Hedgecock,
Madison
right?
Hedgecock for a couple
fullback,
yards.
Yeah.
I came home for Christmas break. The first game I was back for was the Saturday night where they played Washington. And they could have clinched a playoff, or it was a Sunday night. They could have clinched a playoff spot if they won. They were at home. It was rainy. It was windy. They lost. That was the game Shockey got hurt. Mm-hmm. So they lost that game. Then I was home for the next week when they beat Buffalo in the snowstorm a couple days before Christmas, where Ahmad Bradshaw had the long run where the end on his helmet fell off on his logo up there. 2nd and 7 here.
And I should also note, they just flashed a stat, and you can't underestimate this. Eli, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception in the first 3 playoff games. So he is, a month after they're burning his jersey, 2 months after they're burning his jersey, he is playing amazing quarterback.
Yeah, so I was home for that, and then I was home for that Saturday night game against New England. And the thing about that New England game that people forget, there was a big controversy that whole week.
Let's get to that in a second.
Yeah.
We got another 3rd and 6 coming here.
Yeah,
2nd, 3rd, and 6.
And I remember a lot of this game, especially in the first quarter. I can't remember specific plays, but we know they're going to pick this up. So, this will be a little less polished. We'll probably stop and start, and we'll just try to remember to get back to stories. But
like Sterling and Waldman.
Yeah, hopefully we're right about most of the stuff.
All right, so 3rd and 6. Eli, good protection. Got
and
Steve Smith.
It's Steve Smith, who'd been hurt most of this year. And Steve Smith, in 09 and especially 10, was their top receiver. So this was his rookie year. He was hurt most of the year, but came in the playoffs, and he makes one of the biggest plays in this game much later on that I think a lot of people either forget about or overlook, and we'll obviously get back to that. But Eli just gets it over the hands of the defensive lineman, and now they're they're inside the 30 for the Patriots here.
And the thing I think you don't realize is this was a hell of an offense. There were a lot of weapons on the team. You had this was Ward, Jacobs, and Bradshaw. So you had the 3-headed running back attack. 3 really good receivers, Burris, Toomer, and Smith. And then before Jacobs plowing through here, before that you had before he got hurt, you had Shockey, who had been an all-pro tight end 5 years earlier. So this passing game especially had a hell of a lot of weapons.
Yeah, and Shockey was on the team most of the year. People seem to forget that. He wasn't he got hurt this third to last game of the regular season. It wasn't like he got hurt in August and was never there. In fact, they'll show him at some point later on in this game up in like a box, And he got some criticism after that where people were like, why wasn't he on the sideline? Because he just broken his leg. They didn't want him on the sideline for that. So after the 2nd and 3, I'll get back to sort of my my timeline here. So they give it, this is Bradshaw here. Bradshaw comes up. It's just short. I think they marked this just short. And by the way, we've already taken 5 minutes off the clock. They're in 9:40 in the first quarter. I don't know.
Has Eli thrown an incomplete pass?
No, I don't think
it's been all running plays and completed passes, I think.
So in the second that Saturday night game against the Patriots was very controversial because it was either the first or it was only on the NFL Network, which a lot of people didn't get at the time. We didn't get in New York. Now, it was going to be on in New York on local TV, but Congress got involved, and they said, like, the whole country has to be able to see this game. The Patriots are trying to go for 16-0. We got our first shot of Peyton Manning trying to hide from the cameras up in a box. They found it took them 6 minutes to find him.
Exactly.
And he had said he was trying to be avoided.
And Bradshaw gets the first down.
Bradshaw
and carries the pile for another 5 yards.
So it's going to be 1st and 10 at about the 29-yard line as the clock continues to tick. And there was all that controversy, and they finally ended up airing it on 3 channels. It was on the NFL Network. It was on, I believe, NBC because they had the rights to, like, nighttime primetime games. And then it was also on Fox because it was or maybe CBS.
It was CBS. It wasn't Fox.
Because if it had been a regular game at the time, it would have been on CBS. So there was it wasn't 3 sets of announcers, but the game was on 3 different channels.
Do you remember who the play-by-play guy was?
I think it was Bryant Gumbel, probably, right?
He was brutal. He was absolutely terrible.
Eli throws it to Boss for an incompletion.
And I think that's your first incompletion.
And it was a drop. It wouldn't have been a big play anyway. But so then anyway, long story, get back to this. I guess I can't say long story short. But first round of the playoffs, we were down in Florida until the day before visiting our grandfather who unfortunately had gotten diagnosed in the past couple of months with COPD. So we were down in Florida, and we flew home Saturday night. And I got back and I watched the wild card game Sunday where they beat the Buccaneers. The second round game was against the Cowboys. And my roommate and best friend to this day, who's not my roommate to this day, but he's still my best friend, he was a big Cowboys fan. And we had to, Christmas break was ending. It's 3rd and 7 here, so I'll get back to
And
this.
they just flashed. The Giants had 3 third-down conversions in the opening drive, which is a Super Bowl record.
And they showed a shot of Tom Brady sitting on the bench as the whole first quarter's gone. Tom Brady, who broke every passing record in the book this year.
And there it is to Smith again.
Yep.
And that's the 4th third-down conversion. So Eli is establishing his presence right off the bat here.
And they just showed a crowd shot, and I want to focus on that. This was apparently a very Giants-heavy crowd for a Super Bowl, because I think we can't underestimate the fact of the Patriots had fully embraced the black hat thing by then.
Yeah.
Their first couple of championships, 01, everybody was rooting for them unless you lived in St. Louis. 03, 04, I don't think people were really hating on them too much yet. By this point, they had gotten the cheating, the Spygate thing had happened earlier in the year. Belichick had really embraced sort of being like a glib sort of, what I always described as his routine. Eli just threw one into the end zone.
And Burris could have caught it.
Yeah.
Burris could have caught that.
Yeah, and Ellis Hobbs breaks it up. I think Burris was looking for a flag, but they're going to show the replay here, so we'll see if he's got a case. I don't remember whether he had a case or not. Nah, that's good coverage.
Burris, Smith, and Toomer all lining up on the same side there.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, the second round of the playoffs, I was going to stay and watch the game at home and then go back to college that night. But there was a snowstorm forecast, so I had to go home, back to college, and me and my friend Mike watched the game together and had to coexist while the Giants, who had gotten their butts kicked twice by the Cowboys that year, beat them. Watched the NFC Championship game in Philly with my friend's now wife, who was a Packers fan because she grew up in Wisconsin. But then, I came home the weekend of the Super Bowl. I came home on Saturday.
What about the Green Bay game? Did you stay? Oh, you just said. Okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
I came home that Saturday. I remember I went to a bar with two of my friends Saturday night and watched the Knicks play the Supersonics. It was the last year of the Supersonics.
Good point.
And then, the next day I watched the History of the Giants DVD, killed a lot of time, and then I went over to Andy's to watch the Super Bowl. And at this point, where it's this third and 10, 6:12 has gone off the clock.
No, 6:12 is left.
6:12 is left, excuse me. So he just hits Smith and Harrison get into it a little bit here.
And I don't know if that play counted because the clock didn't run, unless that's just an error on the video.
I know there was at least one or two little discrepancies with the clock in this game.
On the video, you mean? Oh,
No.
you're talking about actually in the
Yeah,
game.
They didn't run it. So the Giants, the good news here for the Giants is, okay, they've taken nearly 10 minutes off the clock, or nearly 9 minutes off the clock. They've kept the Patriots' offense off the field, but they're going to end up settling for 3 points here on a 32-yard field goal from Lawrence Tynes. The kick is up and good. Oh, you know what? The clock is frozen. They just showed it's 5. There's 5. The stadium clock showed 5 something.
Oh, so they took even more time. Oh, yeah, there you go.
5:01, yeah.
So that was a 9-minute drive, 7-minute drive, 10-minute drive. What am I talking about?
Showing us here 16 plays, 63 yards, most plays on an opening drive in a Super Bowl. For Giant fans, that Super Bowl 25 drive against the Bills sort of looms large.
Mm-hmm.
They had that drive coming out of the second half, actually had a decent one at the end of the first half. How much time they took off the clock. They kept the high-powered Bills offense off the field. This had parallels to that, it felt like. But as we're going to see on this drive, there's going to be a quick return to reality. The Patriots just take the opening kickoff back to past the 40-yard line of the Giants.
Who is that? Is that Maroney?
Was that Maroney? I thought Maroney was bigger than that. Obviously, the Giants aspect of this is going to be a little more. We're going to be a little more focused on the Giants aspect of it, but I'll check who that was.
Number 39.
Mm-hmm. So now they're showing the Patriots in the. They're showing the Patriots in. It was Lawrence Maroney.
Lawrence Maroney. And this, I'll get to it in a second. This is some offense, obviously.
Randy Moss.
Welker.
Yep, Wes Welker.
And they run this.
Dante Stallworth was on this team too.
Was he on this team or the second team?
No, he was on this team.
He was on this team.
Next year was the incident he had.
What incident did he have?
He hit a guy and killed him driving his car.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It turns out there was a little more to the story than got portrayed, but we don't really need to get into that. But so the Giants' defense had been horrible the first couple of weeks of the year, and then it really molded into a good unit. This was the pass rush of Strahan, OC, Justin Tuck in his second year. They were just constantly Matthias Kiwanuka. But as you see, the Patriots now are just they run with Maroney again. They're already across the 50. So sort of the arc of this is everything the Giants did in the first drive. It gets so undone quickly in this drive by the Patriots. They're showing the Giants starters here. Kavika Mitchell was on the team for 1 year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But makes his mark in both this game and in this season. So 3rd and 2, they're showing Spagnuolo in his first year as the Giants' defensive coordinator. His first tenure was much more successful than his second. They give it to Maroney on the 3rd and 2, so they haven't even really had to throw the ball too much in there.
They tried to throw it on the first down. They did like a fake reverse to Welker. And this was this the year that Brady broke the record? I think it was.
For touchdowns?
Yeah.
He broke it against the Giants in that Week 17 game, yeah. It was still Marino's record at the time.
Obviously, yeah, and then Peyton Manning came back and broke it in Denver.
Because I think there was a play where he threw it to Moss and he broke like the single-season touchdown record. Moss broke the single season receiving record for touchdowns. Like they broke like 3 records on one play.
Brady exactly. Now here's Brady back to pass, throw it long for the first time over the middle to nobody. So something got missed
they
there.
They just cut right at this time. They cut a huddle. So
yeah, they do.
There might have been a commercial or something, but or there might have been like an ad for something like a halftime show or something.
And here he is throwing again, and there's is that Stallworth?
I think that might be still. We're obviously listening to this without the audio commentary, so there might.
I think that Stallworth is 18.
There might be, most of the Giants on this team. I have the numbers remembered, but there might be a few guys on the Patriots that were a little dodgy and have to look up, but I believe that was Stallworth. So
1493 yards receiving from Moss, 1175 for Welker, and then 697 for Dante Stallworth. One person who I had forgotten being on this team, and Jet fans will appreciate this, one of the starting tight ends is Kyle Brady, who had been with the Jets.
Well, and you know what I remember about that? There was a thing about, like, are they going to make Tom Brady have a T on his jersey? And I think they just had neither of them have it.
Yeah, Kyle Brady didn't have one. There's Welker.
Well, I mean, they really couldn't have made Kyle Brady wear a K and then Tom Brady not. It's so weird to think that Wes Welker did not win a Super Bowl with the Patriots. For how long he was on the team and how important he was, he's like the face of that middle era. Because people kind of forget, the Patriots went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's why I consider it almost two separate dynasties. But they won in 2004, and then they didn't win again until the 2014 season, I believe.
Welker never won a Super Bowl because he was on those good Denver teams, 13 and 14. Which team made the Super Bowl? 13.
The team that got their butts kicked by Seattle, yeah.
And then he left in 15. His last year was with the Rams.
One thing I want to point out that's not germane to this game, but kind of is, because they just showed Tom Brady's jersey. And they're showing Brady's ankles over and over, so he must have had an ankle injury that I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
They have the Super Bowl logo on there. I miss the old Super Bowl logos. Shortly after this, they did away with them, and now they're all like a generic, the Lombardi trophy with the year underneath it.
Yeah.
I think 43 or 44 was the last year that they all had their own unique logos. This one is not necessarily the most pleasing one aesthetically. It looks like a minivan door if you look at it closely, but it's got the, it's unique. It's got Arizona colors. It's got the 42.
Patriots just got a first down to Kevin Falk out of the backfield, who he was on the team forever. He was there.
Was he on the 96 team?
No, he got there in 99 and he left in 11.
So he predated Belichick.
He was there in the Pete Carroll era, and he played in 5 Super Bowls with them. Or he was on 5 Super Bowl teams. I don't know if 2011 he only played in 7 games, so I don't know. And the other thing you forget,
I feel like this might be the touchdown.
This might be
First and 10 at the 16-yard line. Brady's in the shotgun. He's got good protection here. All right, that actually might be on the first play of the second quarter.
Threw it over Ben Watson's head.
Ben Watson, another guy who was on the team for a long time, just a real, pro of a guy.
When you think and talk about these teams, you forget about Moss. Because how long was he even with them? Like 3-4 years?
07,
he was
08.
not on the 11 team.
So 07, 08, 09, and then he was on the team the beginning of 10. 10 was the year he was on 3 different teams.
Yeah, because they cut him, then the Vikings cut him.
Yeah, then he went back to Minnesota. It was a big deal, and then they had to cut him because he was like really mean to caterers. Do you remember that story?
I don't remember the specifics, but yeah.
Some family, incomplete there. Mitchell gets a little extra pop in at the end. Yeah, I guess the Vikings, every Wednesday would do something where, a different family came in and did catering, different restaurants, and he was just, really being insulting to them, and they had to cut him because of that.
Well, your stock has dropped when that's something they will cut you off.
Yeah.
And then he was out of football for a year.
Anyway, he finished that year on Tennessee.
Yeah. And then he was out of football for a year. Then he played in another Super Bowl in 12 with the Niners.
Oh, yeah.
He was a backup. Interesting career.
And now he's like an ESPN guy, and he's very, respected. He's I guess he was never as personally outrageous as people thought, in terms of off the field. So they throw it here, we get a pass interference, and I remember this call. The first important thing is Brady takes a pop for the first time in the game.
Uh-huh.
And he hadn't taken a pop on this drive. And they show this here, and it's pass interference, I think on Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, it's
I
Pierce.
remember not liking this call at the time because he gets there early.
That's interference.
It is. It's a good call. I should also point out that when I say I remember not liking this call at the time, I was not in a state of mind that most people would consider rational during this game. I still wouldn't be these days, but I was 22 years old. This was the most important thing in my life. I'd been in college for 4 years in Philadelphia. My first year in college, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. The first week I was in college was week 1. I got to watch the Eagles destroy the Giants. So they run on first down, they're stuffed.
Maroney comes up short.
Maroney gets to like the half-yard line. I believe that's the end of the first. I think the touchdown's on the first play of the second quarter.
That's right, yeah.
So we're ticking the clock down into the first quarter being over. So I'll this might be a good point just for a marker here when they are about to snap the ball for the second quarter in case anybody's out. They showed a thing 2 possessions in the first quarter, fewest in history. It would almost have to be. I doubt there was. You'd have to have Army for a half where there was one. So if you're trying to get back with us, we're just at the start of the second quarter.
It's about 15-10.
15-10
on the YouTube video.
Oh! So this is 15-10 left in the quarter. I'm like, that's not how quarters work. Think about how fast that was. That took 15. So all right, Brady snaps it. They throw it. And Maroney plunges into.
They didn't throw it.
Excuse me, they hand it off. Maroney plunges into the end zone. 14:58 left in the second quarter. And after this extra point, it's going to be a while before anybody scores again.
Yes, that's true.
I believe it's the fourth quarter before anybody scores again.
That's how I recall it as well.
So and we'll talk about the Patriots here in a couple of minutes, but that game in Week 17, the Giants had gotten after him. Human Euro specifically, and there's a clip, and who knows if it's more just the way the angle looks as opposed to how it was in real time. Like, I'll never forget when I finally saw, there was that clip all those years of Kobe Bryant. It was like a low baseline angle where he like fakes a pass and it looks like he gets the guy to flinch on like the out of bounds.
Yeah.
But then if you see the actual angle, that guy's like not really anywhere near him. There's a clip from that Week 17 game where Brady's in the shotgun and he's kind of like nodding. And OC's like nodding back at him, like they're like kind of nodding it. You know what I mean? And then the Patriots kick the ball out of bounds. Gostkowski just kicks it. It's illegal procedure. Belichick is wearing a red sweatshirt in this game, which was kind of out of nowhere. I remember people saying that was like a jinx for them when they lose. There's Giselle. They show her there sitting drinking wine in the press box. This was not the Super Bowl where she got caught afterwards yelling. Is that
Jim Carrey?
Oh, Jim Carrey and Jenny McCarthy. And the guy who played the Truman Show, there's Pamela Anderson there. The guy who played Jim Carrey's friend in the Truman Show and also plays the assistant coach in Miracle. I forget what his name is.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking.
That's who he was with. All right, so Giants take over here. They go to Jacobs, couple yards. So the Giants had really gotten after Brady in that Week 17 game, and that was considered like, well, that's the only way it's going to work is if you get after Brady. And they gradually dial up the pressure in this game, but they got to him a little on that drive, but not much. So he hits Burris Burris, I think they rule that incomplete. Burris catches it going to the ground, and it comes out, and I think they rule that incomplete, even though Rodney Harrison's running with it. So there'd been a clip before the game, and I have to be honest, Tom Brady got a bad rap for this. What he was saying got misconstrued. Plexico Burris before the game, in the week leading up to the game, and said, we're going to win 23-17. And Tom Brady laughed, and the clip that went around was him going, we're only going to score 17 points? Laughing. Mm-hmm. What really, the full clip there is he basically says, like, why couldn't he have said they're going to win 35-32? Why did he have to say we're only going to score 17 points? He's an offensive player. Shouldn't he predict a higher score? But it got clipped to him laughing. And
a triangle long here to Toomer.
And Toomer, who that was the best thing he did in his career. When I think of guys making plays, Amani Toomer was the best player I've ever seen at getting 2 feet in bounds like that.
And that counted, right?
I don't know if it does, because how do they not score any points then?
Well, that was what I was going to say. Well, who knows? I mean, they called it. It happened 15 years ago.
It looks like a catch to me if he survives the ground, but I don't remember what happens, why they wouldn't get anything here.
Because the Giants don't turn it over in this game, I don't think.
No, it stands. So the Giants have 1st and 10 at the 19-yard line.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched this game but once since it happened sort of beginning to end. So a lot of this is
It's too tempting to just watch the fourth quarter, to be honest.
Yeah, or the final drive or whatever, final 2 drives.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens, because honestly, neither of us are remembering it. But yeah, Brady got a little bit of a bad rap there for that comment.
Yeah.
He was being a little bit smug, but he really wasn't saying, like, that's outrageous, we're only going to score 14 points. He was more saying, like, what is he, a defensive player? Like, why is he making that prediction? You know what I mean?
True.
And they had also, I think it was him who had said something before the Week 17 game when they were like, the Giants aren't resting their guys. Like, what do you think of that strategy? And he was like, I think they should rest OC and Tuck and and like, the Patriots didn't personally disrespect the Giants in this game. Giants get a delayed game here, I think. So they're moving.
Eli's frustrated.
Yeah, they're moving backwards a little bit. This is also this referee. I believe this. No, it's not his last game. I'm thinking of the guy from the '86 Super Bowl.
Okay.
He was a great referee. He unfortunately had a very bad 1-year stint as a commentator on CBS as their officiating guy.
Oh, okay.
And like 5 years from now. Like 5 years ago now, 2017 or something, and he was so bad at it that they after a year they had to pull the plug. He left officiating before he was going to
do that
because they
job.
made him such a lucrative TV offer, and it just did not work. So they show Peyton again, and he's by himself. Like if you see the clip, there's people sitting in front of him, but Peyton's not with anybody's family. He's not with his wife. There might be somebody 2 chairs over, but the optics are that he's basically like lurking in the shadows. Remember, Peyton had.
Finally won the year
He had
before.
won one the year before. He had exercised his demons, and then they just hit
Tyree.
That's Tyrese. Tyrese got 3 catches in this game, and that's one of them.
The other 2 are much more memorable.
Yes, that's the
Mike Carey was the name
Mike
of the
Carey.
referee.
Yeah. I thought it was Mike Carey, but I thought that was his name, but I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So yeah, the Giants are, they're with 2 drives. They've moved the ball both drives. They only end up with 3 points, which is obviously a big issue. So 3rd and 5, they just show Jared Lorenzen.
And he was fat. Good God. For an NFL player, he was a fat man.
And remember, the year before, there'd been rumblings. He was the 3rd stringer this year. The year before, he'd been the backup. There was rumblings that he should play. And, I mean, that was...
that's what happened. It was a turnover.
Yeah.
Right to Smith, in and out of his hands. And then, who's this, Dobbs? Or
Hobbs.
Hobbs, rather, yeah.
Manning hits Smith, and Smith just sort of pops it up in the air, and it gets intercepted. So not on him, but, yeah, they did. We'll see the replay here. Yeah, so Smith runs a nice route. It's a low throw, but then it just bobbles up in the air. Ellis Hobbs intercepts it. So the Giants come away with nothing there. And that would have been a first down, I think. So
yeah, you're probably right.
Aerial coverage is presented by Budweiser of the Glendale sky, so to speak.
I'm going to take the first little comfort break here.
Yeah, no problem. So my brother's going to pee, so I'll be by myself for a few minutes here. I'm going to as well at some point. So the Patriots take over, and obviously this is going to be a little more Giants-centric than probably would be balanced. But A, most people who listen to this know we're Giant fans, and B, they win the game. So, spoiler alert. But the Patriots, you got to remember, so the Patriots had won the Super Bowl in 01, 03, and 04. Then they dipped a little. In 05, they lost to the Broncos in the second round of the playoffs. They had made a wild card, and they lost they won the division, but they didn't get a bye. And then they lost to the Broncos in the second round of the playoffs. That's always the one people don't get when you say name all the quarterbacks Tom Brady's lost to in the playoffs. He lost a game to Jake Plummer and the Broncos. And then in 06, they again weren't great. They were, I think, the 4 seed. And they won in the second round. They upset San Diego. And that was when the Patriot players were doing the lights out dance, the Sean Merriman dance on the 50-yard line in San Diego. And the Colts, who were also a 3 seed that year, neither of them, both teams they both went on the road and won. They beat the top 2 seeds. So then they played in the AFC Championship game in 06, and the Colts beat them and then went on to win the Super Bowl. It was sort of the Colts getting the Patriots monkey off their back. But that year, I think the number 1 receiver on that Patriots team in 06 was Rashae Caldwell. So they went out and really reloaded. The Giants just stopped the Patriots on 3rd and 1. They had about 6 guys in there to stop them. So the Giants get the Patriots offense. And you can't overestimate how big this was to get the Patriots off the field after they'd just gone down and scored easily on their first drive. They're already close to midfield. The Giants just blow up the Patriots offensive line. OC's the first one in, and then I think Barry Cofield makes most of the tackle. So the Patriots are punting from their own 35 here. So they went in, they got Randy Moss, they got Dante Stallworth, they got Wes Welker. The offense was really retooled, and at the beginning of this season, they were just blowing teams out. They beat the Jets in that Spygate game week 1, 38-14. San Diego, 38-14. Buffalo, 38-7. Cincinnati, 34-13. Cleveland, 34-17. They scored 34 or 38 points their first 5 games. They beat the Cowboys, who were at the time the second best team in football, 48-27. Dolphins, 49-28. Washington, 52-7.
So and Eli just got sacked here by Smith. I don't know who Smith is. He just got in Wolfork. So.
Their first 8 games of the season, they were beating teams by at least 3 touchdowns. They had a close call against Indianapolis to get to 9-0. Then they beat Buffalo by 46. They beat the Eagles by just 3.
They beat Buffalo by 46?
56-10.
Jeez.
And I remember this December 3rd game against Baltimore. It was a Monday night in Baltimore. This was the closest they came to losing. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I believe the Billick did something weird with play calling at the end where they either had a chance and then Bradshaw just put the ball on the ground and the Giants get away with one here. The Patriots pretty clearly recover this and Bradshaw steals it back.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, he definitely does.
Yeah, they get away with one here because Bradshaw goes down, and I forget who it is on the Patriots. Is it Seymour there? He falls on it, and somehow Bradshaw steals it back, and the Giants keep the ball. And they almost lost that game, but they came back and won. And then they finished up 21-point win over the Steelers, 10-point win over the Jets, 21-point win over the Dolphins, and then that Week 17 game against the Giants. So in my mind, they had slowed down late in the season, but they really hadn't. They had a close call against Indianapolis, a close call against Philly, a close call against Baltimore, and then a close call against the Giants. But the other 12 games were blowouts. So, they ran roughshod through the league, and
they didn't have to play any of the other sort of powerhouses at the time. They didn't
Dallas.
Have to play. Well, no, I meant in the playoffs.
Oh.
They didn't have to play Pittsburgh or the Colts in the playoffs. It was, San Diego, and before that, I think Jacksonville?
Yeah, so in the wild card round, or in the divisional round, they obviously had a bye. They went 16-0. Manning's got nothing here on 3rd and 16 and throws it away. They beat Jacksonville 31-20. I think it was the Saturday night game in the second round. And then they played San Diego. San Diego had upset the Colts the week before, the defending Super Bowl champions. San Diego had upset the Colts, so the AFC, and I remember watching that AFC Championship game. It was the first game, the 3 o'clock game that day, because obviously the Giants were going to play that game at night in Green Bay. And San Diego hung with them for a little while, but they really, it was, I think they did, the Patriots won 31-20. And I remember, and I didn't like the Chargers at the time, too, because of the whole Eli Manning Chargers trade and all that. But I remember rooting for the Chargers, but, also kind of thinking, I don't know, if the Giants win today, it would be cool to play the Patriots. But, I couldn't focus too much on that given, that the Giants still had to win a game in Green Bay in freezing weather later that night.
Well, the thing about the Giants, that playoffs, everyone, except for the Tampa game probably, but every game, it was, the next 3 games, it was always okay, there's no way they're going to win this one. And then they did it 3 times. That was what the thing when they went to play the Patriots in this game, and everybody was saying, well, there's no way. And I was like, well, the only thing I would say is that everybody said there's no chance they beat Dallas. Everybody saying there's no chance they beat Green Bay, and if they did it twice, maybe they could do it a 3rd time.
To be honest, and Brady's got 2nd and 9 here, and they get after him and they sack him.
And is that Strahan?
I think Strahan officially gets credited with this sack here.
Somebody else is in on this, though.
Yeah, I think it's Strahan. There's 3 guys, I think, but Strahan gets credited. This is the last game of Michael Strahan's career. So that Brady drops back here, and this is Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell fakes the blitz and comes right up the middle. So Mitchell shows blitz, then he fakes like he's going back. He takes 1 step away from the line of scrimmage, and the sea just parts. He runs in, he gets the initial contact, Strahan gets the next contact, but it was really Kavika Mitchell who made the play.
And they don't so much tackle Brady there, they just kind of force him to lose his balance.
Yeah, they knock him off balance. He doesn't take a big hit, but so now it's 3rd and 17, and you can tell Brady's getting a little frustrated because...
And they are in on, and that's Tuck.
And that's Tuck.
And that's Tuck, I think that's Tuck's first sack there, and I remember thinking at the time that Tuck, who didn't even start this game, was the ends were Strahan and Osi. Tuck had a really good case for MVP of this game.
And 4 years later, too. Tuck could have been the MVP of both Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And Tuck, this is Tuck's second year. So we're watching the replay. Tuck's inside. He's lined up inside. He just splits between the guard and the tackle and gets Brady. So they've gotten pressure. They just sacked Brady twice in a row. The Patriots are punting from their own end zone with just under 7 minutes left in the half. The Patriots... with the Giants, with what you were saying, the game I was least optimistic about was Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly remember saying to somebody the week between the week 17 and the wild card round, and in my head it was college, but I wouldn't have been at college then.
Let me just break in real quick. They just flashed a graphic. Moss, no catches so far.
And now they're showing the Giants' defense, and they look pretty pleased with themselves on the sideline. I remember saying to somebody, if they don't have to play Dallas, they're going to the Super Bowl. I said if they somehow get around having to play Dallas, they're going to the Super Bowl. And turns out they did have to play Dallas, and still, I didn't think they were going to win this game, but I thought they could win this game. So now the Giants, and we know they're not going to capitalize, but they're trying to get the run game going again. But the sort of the theme so far is this defense has gotten in Brady's face. You see on the sidelines now, Belichick's over, I don't know what they're talking about. We're getting a Chris Myers report, and they're showing Belichick, but obviously we don't know what he's talking. Probably an injury or something, but Belichick obviously looking very frustrated on the sidelines with his offense as, they're not protecting his MVP.
Mm-hmm.
The theme of this game, and we could talk about the symmetry, which is the two greatest game plans defensively in Giants history, at least in modern history. I can't really...
And there's Bradshaw breaking off a nice run.
Not to besmirch Tom Landry, but the two greatest game plans are Steve Spagnuolo doing this to beat the 2007 Patriots, coached by Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick's strategy in Super Bowl 25 as the Giants' defensive coordinator to stop the K-gun Bills, and that was a little more... adventurous because they basically said, we're going to let Thurman Thomas run for 150 yards.
Yeah.
This was more, we're going to line up our aces. They called it the NASCAR package. We're going to line up our pass rushers, and we are going to get in this guy's face all day. And that's great to say, but it has to work, and it did work. So
This is Strahan after the game talking about how the team felt going into the game. He says, we felt like we could dominate them. We led the league in sacks. And when we get against the Patriots, we're supposed to not be able to pass rush. That's what we do.
Got an ad on the screen for the halftime show, which obviously everything about this game, I'm not objective, but I also think it was a great halftime show with Tom Petty. I still, when any of the four songs that Tom Petty, because the DVD I have of this has the Super Bowl halftime show on there.
Uh-huh.
Anytime one of those songs comes on the radio, I still get a little smile on my face about this game.
I know he did American Girl.
So he starts with it's American Girl.
He must have done American Girl and Free Fallin'. Must have been two of them.
It's American Girl, Won't Back Down, Free Fallin', and then he closes with Running Down a Dream. And that's the one I most associate with this Super Bowl. So the Giants are driving again as the clock ticks under 4:30 here. The Giants were not stymied this whole game. They moved the ball. They just, in between their first drive and the fourth quarter, really just couldn't punch it in. I mean, they're on borderline field goal range again, and we know they don't get a field goal. So, it's got the feel of sort of Manning's back to pass. He hits Bradshaw for a minimal gain. It's got the feel of a heavyweight fight at this point. They're taking each other's punches.
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin, obviously the former Giant assistant, the thing I've learned in later years, he had never talked to his team about that 1990 Super Bowl. And the night before this game, at the hotel, in the pregame sort of meeting, he talked about his experience as the receivers coach in that 90 Super Bowl 25 game and what it meant and all of that. So, I think that was a very cool thing to hold back until the exact right moment.
I have a point to make. I want to see what happens here. Bradshaw, another run to the line. Coughlin, I have a rule that I don't read books that are ostensibly written by the person.
Mm-hmm.
So ghost written books, because you can never tell, like, how much did this guy actually contribute to this? The one that always comes to mind is David Wells, who came out with a book and talked about how he was drunk or whatever for his no-hitter, drunk or hungover, and he basically then denied ever saying it. But it's like, you don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
In a lot of these guys, like, they always used to joke that Mickey Mantle had written more books than he'd read in his life. So we're looking here. I'll make my point after this third down, which I believe the Giants don't pick up. In fact, Eli's and again,
and they get another break here because Bradshaw bats the ball forward,
and Smith recovers it. Is that a first down?
No, they call it an illegal bat.
Okay.
I believe they throw the flag. You're not allowed to bat it forward 8 yards.
Okay.
There are some people here who say, like, they didn't catch a break. It was a smart move. Because I've heard people complain about that. There's no scenario where the Patriots get the ball there. They're not just going to award the Patriots the ball.
No.
Like, it's an illegal bat. You're not allowed to bat the ball forward 8 yards. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Coughlin is coming out with a book, or has come out with a book about, I don't know whether it's the season or the team or the just this Super Bowl, and I'm tempted to read it. I'm tempted to buy it and break my own rule just because, I don't know. I'm surprised there hasn't been a book written about this team yet.
Has there not been one that's just about that team? I know there's the Accorsi book about, like, the making of a quarterback, but there hasn't been, like, a week-to-week one about this team?
No, and the Accorsi book came out pre-07 season.
Oh, okay.
There hasn't really been anything. I mean, look, football doesn't get the level of literary attention that baseball or maybe even basketball get, but it's surprising to me that nobody's written a book. I mean, it's New York. It's it's the biggest market in the world. I don't understand why nobody's written a book about this team, but about this game, about any of it. It's surprising to me.
And if you listen to this and you know of a book that's specifically about this topic or something like that,
yeah, please. First of all, let us know let us know so that we can read it, and then also send the author our way, and we'll interview him on the show.
Yeah, that'd be good. I guess
love this line: Deal, Seibert, O'Hare. What was the rest of it?
So it was McKenzie and Snee on one side. O'Hara was the center, and then
O'Hara, not O'Hare, yeah, and then Deal and Seibert on the other side. Yeah.
And
they just showed a shot, for those of you who were watching, of Eli walking up to the line and all five guys.
And this was the
front of him.
This was the first year of this line. The year before, Luke Pettigrew had been the starting left tackle, right?
Yep.
And then they brought in McKenzie, and then Seibert ended up moving. So this was the line: 07, 08, 09, 10. And then in 11, and it was a great line. 08 was, the next year was they had the best rushing attack in the league. It was 11. They moved things around. They cut Seibert and O'Hara. They brought in David Boss to play center, and then they moved Seibert to, and then they moved Deal, I think, to tackle, and they moved some guys around.
Giants punting here. Is this the first punt of the game by either team? I think.
No,
it is.
The Patriots punted once.
Giants punting for the first time.
Patriots punted twice, I think.
Okay, Giants punting for the first time, I believe, and Fiegels was a very, very important part of this team. Fiegels was one of the better punters in the NFL in the last 30, 40 years. Another one of these punters who was around forever, but he was really an important part of the team, Jeff Fiegels.
Oh, yeah. They brought him in was 05 his first year with the Giants? He'd been with the Giants pretty quickly after Coughlin took over, and he was, we talked very recently about the Ray, in our In Memoriam, which actually hasn't come out yet, but about Ray Guy. And it's like some teams, it's like a childish. They just showed the Giants since the
Patriots.
The Patriots' last two drives, and this is the 2007 Patriots, since their touchdown drive, 2 drives, -7 yards, 2 punts.
Both 3 and out.
Yeah, so
it's hard to have 2 drives for -7 yards if they're not both 3 and out.
Yeah, you have to lose 30 yards. They rush again. Brady takes a big hit again. He gets it away. He throws it down the field. Moss is double covered. And
that was Jabril Wilson on a blitz. Yeah.
And he hits Brady good. And it's not, none of these are hits where Brady's lying on the turf unconscious, but these add up. So Wilson comes off. Nobody touches him. And he just drills Brady into the turf at about the 2-yard line.
Probably about a half a step away from being a penalty there.
Well, you got to remember it is 15 years ago. I mean, they protect the quarterbacks then, too, but it is 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So, again, they're hitting them. I'm trying to what I was saying, I went like sort of not game by game, but I just sort of gave the overview of the Patriots season. We'll do that with the Giants in the second half because there's a couple of games that I think get overlooked.
Great stuff of the run there by OC.
And it's at this point, it's clear the Patriots are probably trying to take it into the locker room. So now the Giants take their first time out, which this could burn you because it's the 07 Giants or Patriots. It's Tom Brady. You just they probably would have taken it down to 50 seconds there. This could burn you. It's a risk.
It could, except they're so deep. They're on like their own 10 here.
The halftime show is sponsored by Sobe Life Water, for the record.
Kurt, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy. I wonder whatever happened to those guys.
Same guys, and then they just added a guy who's playing. And the next year, it was the 5 of them.
Did Strahan join that quickly?
Yeah, he was there the next year.
All right.
I remember watching I was at 51st State in D.C., watching, I think, week 2 when he was on the Fox pregame show talking because he predicted the Cowboys to win the division and people were mad. He was wrong, by the way. The Giants won the division that year. But, so yeah, negative 10 yards for the Patriots in the second quarter.
I want to make a point about this in a second.
Brady, they get
stalwart.
Yep, they get the first down.
So this probably brings them over into positive yardage. They're like,
yeah.
But here's the thing. I remember feeling, watching this, like the Giants maybe had blown their chance. Because now it's a little closer after that last play, but in the second quarter, the Giants are up.
Brady throws again and gets hit, and that's a famous hit you see, because he gets hit at like the waist, and it's OC. OC's back there, he hits Brady. Sorry, go ahead.
So the Giants have a yardage advantage of almost 100 yards in the second quarter, and they've not scored any points.
Yeah.
So what you think there is like, oh geez, you want to upset a team like this. You want to go into the locker room at halftime winning. You don't want to be like, oh, we're hanging with them, because
it's Tuck and OC, by the way. Tuck and OC both hit him on that. So it's 2nd and 10 with 1:05 left. But you're right, they left some points on the board. They definitely left at least 3 on the board.
In my life, there's sort of, and I don't know if I've made this point on the podcast before, but
get a flag here, which is there's outside of that illegal bat and the one Pierce pass interference, there have not been many flags.
It's a flag that gets called on the Giants in the second half that I'll rant about when it comes. In my life, there's been like 4 or 5. It's been the 90s Yankees, Jordan.
Good call, by the way. It's a hold against whoever's holding Antonio Pierce, who's about to make the tackle. So,
Jordan, 90s Yankees, Kobe and Shaq, and really Brady, by and large, were teams that I remember watching. And incidentally, the Patriots have the second fewest yards to date in first half of a Super Bowl. They have 48. Their second. First is that must be that they didn't do years there.
It said the Super Bowl number.
Oh, did it say?
It took me a second. It was the 85 Patriots.
It was the 85 Patriots, the team with Tony Eason at quarterback and John Hanna refusing to block for him after a while. But there were certain teams where I always kind of felt like they'd let you hang with them for a little while, and then at a certain point they just have had enough. We got to stop here. They're showing Giants Super Bowl history, and they show Bavaro, McConkey. They showed Norwood missing a field goal, and then
Parcells being carried off.
And then they're showing Kerry Collins throwing an interception because that's all he did in that Super Bowl. Oh, God, that was and Brady, I kind of looked at Brady, especially then, in that light of, at a certain point, they're just going to have had enough. They're going to toy with the Giants. They're going to go into halftime. They're going to decide, look, we've let these guys hang with us enough, and now we just got to wipe them off the face of the earth.
And that's why this is especially precarious, because they're getting close to midfield, I believe. Nah, they're back to the tournament. They're going to get the ball in the second half, too. So they could theoretically get something here and get something coming out of the half. And I think that was my big fear. So they throw it. Did he pick that off the ground, or that is a catch?
No, that's a catch.
I think what happens here is I'm pretty sure they're getting close to field goal range, and there's a sack right before the half where they get out of field goal range.
That sounds right.
So it's 45 seconds and ticking.
And still no catches from Moss.
But again, they're still hitting Brady on every play. Even when he's completing passes, he's getting hit. Brady back to pass on a 3rd and 4 here.
No, they get this one.
I'm thinking it's like even later than this.
Okay, well, it can't be too much later. There's only 24 seconds left.
They got 2 timeouts, I believe. Yeah, there's a second
timeout.
This is the Fox era of it's a strip across the top. Now we're getting Patriots Super Bowl history. We're getting
The aforementioned.
how many times? And then we're seeing them lose to Green Bay in the '90s, and then now we're going to get the three. They don't even. Yeah, then now we're getting the Carolina one, the Philly one, the St. Louis one, all by 3 points. How many times do you think they would have needed to rematch Super Bowl 20 for the Patriots to win 1,000? Like
100. I mean, I would say that 100. That's probably the two teams that are the least.
Robert Kraft is wearing the only kind of shirt he knows how to wear,
With a white collar and a blue shirt. Yeah, no, that's got to be the two. Because that 85 Bears team was so dominant. Whenever they show the highlights of that Super Bowl, it's almost like ominous. Like it's almost like legitimately depressing. You have to forget it was just a football game. It's just like it basically was like somebody murdered somebody else. Like
it's like watching a boxing match where it like stops being enjoyable because one guy clearly shouldn't be in the ring.
There's an ominous feel in that one of like somebody could potentially get badly hurt here.
It's like, you know what it is? It's like, so Brady just steps into a nice throw, hits Moss.
And I would not be surprised if in a second here we get a graphic that says, or maybe just Buck or Aikman said it. First completion for Moss. Crazy that Buck and Aikman are still doing games together. I'll bite on another network now. But
and Moss, they got the matchup they had to be looking for against Dockery, who I think was the fourth corner at this point. So they're across midfield. They still got one timeout left. It looks like they got a chance at some points. Brady steps into a throw. And he gets stripped.
Tuck strips him. Yep.
Tuck strips him. OC recovers it. I believe OC recovers it.
Does OC recover it yet, or do the Patriots get it back?
I think the Giants get it. So Tuck Brady's obviously getting ready to step into a throw. Tuck gets hits him on the blind side.
Giant ball.
Strips the ball. Giants recover. There's 10 seconds left. Let me see. Tuck just comes loose. Right as Brady's getting ready to step into a deep throw, he gets hit. Then OC wraps him up and brings him to the ground. And to be honest, obviously it doesn't happen, but that could hurt you. He's got his arm fully torqued to throw deep, and Tuck grabs his wrist.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the Giants recover. There's 10 seconds. I don't know if they even do anything here.
I'm sure they don't.
Tuck is they're showing Tuck on the bench here and all the rest of the guys.
He should have been the MVP of this Super Bowl.
It's an interesting discussion.
Like, I guess when you lead a team on a drive to win it, you're going to
There's also a chance that a guy who caught a touchdown and the ball with his helmet.
That's a fair one, too.
That's a fair point, too. All right, so 10 seconds, Giants are in the shotgun. I think maybe they try something on one play and it doesn't go anywhere, and then they just take a knee or something. So Manning's back deep. Throws over the middle. It's incomplete. There's 5 seconds left in the half.
And they got Reuben Drones in the backfield there.
I think there was... So I have the DVDs of this season, and I'm only about halfway through them. I just put them on occasionally. There's one game early in the year where Jacobs doesn't play because he's hurt, and Bradshaw's still a rookie, and Reuben Drones gets the lion's share of the carries in the game.
Ward was on this team too, right?
I don't know. He might have been hurt all year. The next year was the Earth, Wind, and Fire year, and that we should talk about. I mean, maybe we can wait till the second half, but let's not lose sight of they got Moss deep on defense here with 5 seconds left, just in case the Giants try something. Moss is standing at the 5-yard line. So Manning's in now they call a timeout. We should just mention Tiki Barber.
Ward played in 8 games, but didn't. He was.
I think he got hurt in the Detroit game because if I'm not mistaken, Ward and Matthias Kiwanuka both got lost for the season in the Detroit game. We're seeing a thing of QB pressure on Brady already. Just seeing him get knocked on his ass a bunch of times.
And here's the thing too, not to denigrate anybody, but it is mostly the D line doing this. You had Mitchell in there on the one,
and Wilson once, but
that's a blitz. That's not really pressure.
But I mean, also they can't. I don't know if that was the video or if that was just some weird 2007 stylized where it paused a couple of times. But so he's been dropped back 17 times. He's been sacked 3 times, knocked down 6 times, and a fumble lost for Brady and a half. But the other thing, any pressure they're getting beside that is because of how much the line has to devote to the defensive line. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So now I think the Giants taking. I don't think they must try something here because it's 2nd and 10, 5 seconds left. They're in the shotgun. Maybe he just gives it up. No, he throws it. All right.
I think he throws it short.
Patriots rush 2. He steps into it with 1.
Oh no, they Hail Mary it.
throws a Hail Mary. It's knocked down. Nothing really there. So we go into the half. It's 7-3 Patriots. Both teams scored on their first drive. Coughlin, they're showing him, and he seems pretty pumped. I mean, he's, But I guess the thing we got to remember is the Patriots are still winning. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's my point, is that it's not as if bad comparison, but it's the one I'll always make because I was there. But when UMBC played Virginia in, what year was that, 20?
And they just showed a graphic, the teams leading at halftime, 32-7.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of those teams were leading 25 or 28-7, but go ahead, sorry.
When I was at UMBC Virginia in 20, whatever year I did that, 2018, in the NCAA tournament when UMBC beat them, they were up like 15 or whatever it was at halftime. They led the whole game. If two teams are close, but one team is clearly the favorite, and the Patriots were, I think, 12-point favorites in this game. Close to me is like, okay, they haven't been able to put their foot on their neck yet. You got to be up big, so goes my theory, against the superior team.
And I think that's one thing we can't lose in this. Two things. One, I think this was just a particularly awful matchup for New England.
I agree.
And I don't think if you played this game 10 times, the Patriots win 9, to be honest. I think this Giant team was just a particularly bad matchup for New England, where if they played 10 times, it probably would have gone 5-5. Because they played twice, and once they were both 3-point games.
So you're saying it's not so much an upset as just a bad matchup for the Patriots?
I mean, it is an upset, don't get me wrong, but it's just the way this was designed was a nightmare matchup, and we're obviously skipping Tom Petty, and we're getting right to the start of the third quarter. I think this was just a nightmare matchup for this Patriot team.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was. I remember an Onion article the week before the game. It was said, Giants, we almost beat the Patriots once. We can almost beat them again. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. Bill Simmons, and I over the years have become a little more disenfranchised with him, but he wrote a thing after this game, obviously a big Patriots fan, and he said, he's talking about the halftime, and he's like, I was expecting this to be a little more of a coronation. It seemed like obviously the Patriots were going to be tested, they were going to get beat up, they were going to, whatever. He's like, that said, I still didn't think they were going to lose at halftime.
Yeah, and neither did I. I did not think the Giants would.
I remember yelling at people at probably after it was reasonable to do so, saying zeros. 3 zeros on the clock before I want to hear any nonsense. So we're getting ready to start the third. Belichick's turning on his radio. So the Patriots will start with the ball here. And again, if you're a Giant fan here, it's like, okay, well, and this is probably a thing. I think in the last 15 years, people have gotten a little smarter about this, but it's like, oh, halftime adjustments. Let's see what they're going to do. Uh-oh, he's had 25 minutes to make adjustments at halftime. But it's a lot more of the same, really. But this was obviously a crucial drive, because if the Patriots score here and go up 14-3, the game's probably over.
And the Giants are demoralized.
And they haven't done anything on offense. They get a good stop on the kick return. Chase Blackburn makes a nice play there. Going to Pam Oliver. I think she was on the Giants sideline. I don't remember what she's talking about. She talked to Tom Coughlin at halftime, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think she was the Giants.
Yeah, because they would do the 2. I think Chris Myers was the...
yeah, they just had him up a minute ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the Patriots start out with the ball here early in the third quarter, and they're showing Osi Umenyiora, who has made a living in the Giants, or the Patriots, and now Strahan. And I mean, these guys are just, they're feasting. So Brady in the shotgun to start the half. The third quarter is probably the quarter I remember the least about, because the fourth quarter just obviously overshadows it. So first play, Brady gets Welker over the middle for 15 yards, and it's like, okay, well, this is obviously what they're going to do.
And that's what Welker did, was catch a ball over the middle and get 5-8 yards after the catch.
He always seems like he was running barely off the ground.
Yeah.
Like, he always seemed like he was running, like, when you see, like, not that you'll know, like, when you see, like, when they show, like, motorcycle races, and when they turn, and the guy's knee is, like, 3 inches off the ground, that's what he always seemed like he was running, like, his shoulders and forearms were barely off the ground. So now the Patriots are first and 10 at the 36-yard line. And they give it to Maroney. Or is that Maroney? Yeah. I think it's Maroney, right? Yeah. and he had like a 6-yard gain. So the Patriots are moving. They're getting close to midfield already. First half, they got an interesting graphic up here. First half comparison in Week 17, the Giants were up 21-16, 198 yards to 173 yards. Tonight, 7-3, Giants 139 yards, Patriots 81 yards in the first half. But like you said, they're still losing, and one big play to Moss here, and it's 14-3, and that's what it felt like was coming at some point. Brady drops back. Strahan, I remember that play. He's going to throw like a sort of swing pass on second and short to, I think, Falk in the back, and Strahan just gets in and just knocks it down and it blows it up and makes 3rd and 3. So even there, that's not a quarterback pressure, but he's able to just, with his left hand, he just tips it just enough where he blows up the play and brings up a 3rd down. Shot of Spagnuolo here, going through his signals. Spagnuolo was in his first year as the Giants' defensive coordinator. He'd been with the Eagles. He turns down the Washington job and stays for another year with the Giants. Then he gets the job in St. Louis in 2009. Strahan drills Brady again, but the Patriots pick up a first down at the 47-yard line. But again, they show, they cut back to OC. It was OC who drilled Brady. I might have said Strahan. They show Brady picking himself up off the turf because OC just gets right around the left tackle and is able to knock Brady, and Brady takes a bit of a pop there. But he's hanging in. He's making the completions. So the Patriots are, this was the drive they needed up to this point. Brady gets knocked down again. He's been knocked down or sacked more than half of his dropbacks so far. That's a great run stop by OC, who OC took a lot of criticism in his career for not being good enough against the run. But here they makes a really nice play. The Giants had gone 10-6 this year. They'd started out 0-2 really horrendously. They let up 45 points to Dallas and 35 points to Green Bay. The Green Bay loss seemed worse at the time because Green Bay had gone like 4-12 the year before. It didn't seem like Green Bay was going to be a good team.
And this was Favre's last year, right?
Now, Green Bay ended up going to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
But then they reeled off 6 wins in a row. They had the goal line stand against Washington. They beat up San Francisco, Atlanta. They went and played the first game in London against Miami. So they're 6-2, and we'll come back to that after the 2nd and 12. Brady hits Welker.
Same thing. Welker over the middle.
But it's still 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. Then they lose to Dallas big, the second crack. So the division's over at that point. They're not catching Dallas then. Mm-hmm. They're 6-3. Dallas is 8-1. Dallas has swept them. They have a win against Detroit the next week. Then comes the horrible Eli game against Minnesota. So they're 7-4. And the 2 games people forget, and I'll come back to this after 3rd and 5. They got Welker split out wide. Patriots are they're in the NFL logo in midfield about the Giant 47 or 48 here, and I believe there's more pressure here, although that's not a very risky guess. They actually get it off. They get it off. It's not but
Pierce makes a nice play to hold Falk short of the first down.
And also where he's not inches shy and they go for it.
True.
The 2 games people overlook, the Giants had 2 straight road games at 7-4. And they had to go to first they went to Chicago, who Chicago had been in the Super Bowl the year before. They weren't having a great year, but they'd been in the Super Bowl the year before. And the Giants beat them. And then they went to Philly, and they beat Philly, who they beaten the crap out of on the Week 4 game. That was the game where OC had 6 sacks, and the Giants sacked McNabb 12 times in Week 4. Mm-hmm. So from letting up 80 points 2 weeks earlier to doing that. And they beat the Eagles at the buzzer, or at the gun. The Eagles managed to get in field goal range for David Akers to kick like a 59-yard field goal. And Belichick's challenging this, and I remember this penalty.
Yeah, and this was the one that bothered me so much.
Too many men on the field.
Too many men on the field. You got a Giant player running off.
And it gives the Patriots new life.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember here. There was something about the refs are trying to tell. This is, and we don't have the sound on, so I might be missing some of this. But if I remember this correctly, the refs are trying to tell Belichick that he can't challenge it.
A penalty.
Yeah, that he can't challenge a penalty.
And then they let him challenge it.
And then they let him challenge it anyway.
Let's see if I can read lips here. So they do challenge 12 men on the field. You know what I think?
I tried to turn it on there just for a second just to hear.
You know what I think it was? I think you were always allowed to challenge this, but we just always heard you weren't allowed to challenge a penalty, so how are they doing that?
The Giants had 12 men on the field.
Okay, so they're reviewing that.
Because it wasn't a penalty. There was no penalty. He was challenging there should have been a penalty.
Yeah, and I didn't think you could challenge that.
But you could, I guess. So, because they wouldn't have just said, oh, all right, we'll let you. But at the time, it seemed like they couldn't, because we didn't know. So anyway,
and I think if you, and maybe this was something Buck and Aikman were saying, but it seemed, and Coughlin doesn't seem too upset, so maybe it was.
I mean, he should be upset that the guy didn't get his butt off the field.
But he doesn't seem upset at the
He's upset at his special teams coach.
But honestly, as Coughlin goes, he's not that angry.
But here's the thing, and this is, he just gave this team new life. It was 4th and 2, and the Patriots were punting, and now they have the ball.
Exactly.
The fact that this didn't burn them is incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I remember that at the time being, oh, okay, this is what's going to do it.
Yeah. Because they're at like the 40-yard line now.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the Patriots literally punted and suddenly their offense was back on the field. Brady at this point is 12 of 19 for 112 yards. He drops back to pass here. Throws
again to Maroney.
A screen. It gets a few yards, but not a ton. It's 4 yards. But you know what? It's pretty clear at this point that they don't want to trust. They don't trust a 5 or 7 step drop because Brady doesn't have time to throw when he has a 5 or. Now we get a false start and they're back to that wipes out that last play.
I'm looking here. How many catches did Maroney had a ton?
Yeah, see if you can get that. I mean, he's obviously they were shorter passes, but yeah, they obviously. I forgot they went to him this much.
Oh, I'm only 2.
Oh, okay. Well,
it seems like they've been throwing the ball to him left and right.
Well, that play just got wiped out.
Okay,
because it was a penalty, so would have been 3.
Exactly.
So now it's 2nd and 11. Brady throws. They throw to the side to Welker, and this time the Giants are all over it. Webster's right there. So Webster and Ross. Ross is a rookie here. He was their first-round draft pick this year, and they got great production out of their rookies. At the time, it was like, what a draft class. Aaron Ross had a nice career.
Yeah.
But none of the rest of them had great careers, but like Jay Alford makes a big play late in this game. Bradshaw was a 7th-round draft pick, so he had a nice career here.
This Tuck's rookie year?
No, Tuck was the year before.
Okay.
So I'll pull up their full draft class. They all made the team and they all contributed, but not a lot of them had like great careers after this.
3rd and 13 for the Pats here, and I don't think they get this.
So they throw it
again to Falk.
They throw it to Falk, and he picks it up. So they pick up
I'm thinking Falk more too. By the way, Falk had 7 receptions.
So the Giants draft class in 07 was Aaron Ross, Steve Smith, Jay Alford, who makes a play in this drive, Zach Diassi, who just retired like 2 years ago. He was their long snapper for forever. Kevin Boss, who had a couple of nice years. Adam Coates, who didn't really do anything as an offensive lineman. Michael Johnson, and then Ahmad Bradshaw. So they had a draft class that didn't. A couple of guys who had nice careers, but they all contributed for the most part in this game and season. Brady just broke the record for most career completions in the Super Bowl, a record I'm going to guess he still holds. How many more Super Bowls did he play in after this? 11? He played in 5 more with the Patriots, didn't he?
Well, they win 3 more.
And lose 2.
And they lose. So he's in 6 more Super Bowls. Brady played in 10 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I think that was the
and they're in first place this year.
Well, yeah. Who knows?
They're 6 and 8. They're in first. But so think about what the Giants have gotten away with on this drive. They let up a 3rd and whatever. They had too many men on the field on a punt.
And there is the lone reception on the game for the great Kyle Brady. Brady to Brady.
Yes. And I believe later he throws to Tom Brady. No, that wouldn't be till now when teams have decided it's a good idea to try to throw the ball to Tom Brady. I mean, it did almost work in that Super Bowl against the Eagles a few years ago, but then the Bucks tried to do it earlier this year, and he just fell down and the ball got intercepted.
I think I was watching that.
Don't throw the ball to Tom Brady.
Not at 46 years of age.
The other thing to point out, it's halfway through the 3rd quarter. It's 3rd and 7. this is really this is a huge play here. Like if they pick this up and get a touchdown, the Giants could probably have weathered it if it was 10-3, but not at 14-3 at this point. And here comes Strahan.
Strahan sacks him, yeah.
And Strahan chases Brady down.
And this video that they're showing of Strahan with his arms in the air, flexing his muscles. You see that quite a bit on highlight reels and whatever.
And he chases Brady down. He's coming from the back end. Brady's rolling the other way, and he chases Brady down, tackles him. It's a solo sack. It's just him. No, there's nobody else in on the play. It's 3rd down, and now I think, did they miss a field goal here? I think they kick a field goal here. It's 4th and 13, so they're obviously not going to go for it.
They are going for it.
I'm an idiot. They do go for it.
Or do they try and draw him off and then call timeout?
They must, yeah. No, they snap it.
Why would you try and draw him off on?
So they snap it. Brady throws it downfield. They go deep. It's
bad throw by Brady.
Way out of bounds.
Is that Jabbar Gaffney they're trying to get at
Is
there?
that Gaffney is 10, I think? All right. I'm going to run to the facilities real quick. Do you want me to bring you a beer down for the 4th quarter?
I'll wait till it's officially noon till I get my beer.
All right. I'll be back.
So, Andrew's a little better at doing this solo than I am, but I'm gonna do my best here. Get myself a little bit of water. They're showing the University of Phoenix Stadium, which, if you listen to the last episode, you realize that I didn't put 2 and 2 together that was actually a sponsor and not where the University of Phoenix plays, and that was a stupid thing for me to think for a number of reasons. Giants got the ball back here. Seems to be some confusion. They keep showing Junior Seau, and can't help but feel a little bad for him. First of all, feel bad for him because he kind of, had some tragic end. About 5-6 years after that, head injuries and that type of thing, and ended up taking his own life. But just from a football point of view, I remember even when the Giants won this game, Seau was sort of the one guy that I felt bad for that didn't get the ring. And there's actually a famous picture of him with confetti raining down on him, giant confetti sort of in the dejection. Giants got 2nd and 6 here. I formation, little throw, hits Toomer. Sort of the flip side of that, and I think we talked about this a couple years ago when we did our all-time Giants team, about how Toomer was probably the guy on the team that we were the most, at least that I, as a Giant fan, and I think Andrew probably feels the same way, was kind of the happiest for, because he'd been on the team, I think, going back even maybe to the final days.
Are we watching sports?
Toomer just had a catch to get the Giants the first down. And I was just saying how he might have been the guy when the Giants won that I was the happiest for on this team. And I was trying to remember, he started, I think, his last year might have been like the end of the Reeves era even, wasn't it, Toomer?
I want to say 98, but I could be wrong. Let me check. I know Barber was 97, right?
Barber, I believe, was 97, but I think Toomer might have been before him.
Let's see.
You may hear the Hello Old Sports mascot, good old three-legged thumper, barking in the background there.
His first year was 96, so yeah.
The last year of the Reeves era, yeah.
So you're right. It was nice that he got one. Did
he retire right after this?
No, he played the next year with them. He had a good year.
A really good team.
And then in 2009, I think he got cut, and he tried to make it with Kansas City, and he might have been on the roster, but it wasn't long. He just made another catch.
Another nice catch by him, just short of the first down.
All right, so is that fourth? Is it 4th down now?
I think it's 3rd.
So we're getting late in the 3rd quarter here. It's about
4:28 or so in the 3rd quarter.
And at this point, time is running out. I mean, there's still a lot of time left, but it's only a third of the game left. You only have a couple more drives, and the
Giants get the first down here by literally just the nose of the ball.
Yeah. So it's really close, but they get it. And it's, any sort of fantasy is that this game was going to be a coronation went away, and they just showed Junior Seau.
I was talking a lot about Seau while you were in the bathroom, about how not only, obviously the end of his life was very sad, but also just how bad you felt from him just from an on-field point of view, that he was the one guy on the Pats I felt bad for.
I could see that. He had been on that Charger team that got destroyed by the
Niners.
49ers, yeah.
That was a long time. That was like 13 years before this.
Yeah, it would have been 94 season,
yeah.
But he was one of the best players in football for a long time. Usually not on a great team. Eli gets forever to throw the ball here, but the play's designed for Burris, who's got 3 guys in his vicinity, so ball kind of incomplete in the end zone. It's not almost intercepted, but it certainly was a throw into traffic. Burris is smiling at the defenders, so he's obviously Burris had been a couple of things about Burris. He had played almost his whole year on a very bad leg.
Yes.
He had been getting
not as bad as the next year.
He'd been getting more cortisone shots than is probably advisable.
Mm-hmm.
He got a cortisone shot at halftime of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the quote, and who knows if he actually said it at the time, but the quote after the game was he basically told them, "I don't care if you have to cut it off after the game, give me the shot." So he had in the NFC Championship, he hadn't practiced since like October. In the NFC Championship game, he was phenomenal in -20 wind chill. There's the Packers announcer says, "Boy, Al Harris, he must be cold because he's been undressed by Plexico Burris." So Burris does not, he obviously has one more big play to make in this game, but Burris was huge for them this season and in the playoffs, specifically in the NFC Championship game. And everybody kind of had their moments throughout the playoffs. Toomer had that long catch against the Cowboys early in the second round of the game, the first drive of the game. He had like the 60-yard touchdown. So it's 3rd and 6 here. Manning drops back, kind of forces one to Burris, incomplete. So the Giants really don't do anything on that drive. They stall. They tried to force it into Burris a couple of times.
I was just about to say, you wonder if the frustration of the fact that they can't get anything going with the offense is leading him to try and force it into his best receiver more and more. Because that's, I guess theoretically, but he's kind of forcing it. He's well covered by game.
It is 3rd and 6, so, And the other thing that I think is important to point out, they do a really good job protecting Eli, except for one play. Like, Eli's not constantly on his butt in this game. And you would think they might have said, and Fiegel...
Another really good punt by Fiegel.
It looks like a bad punt, but then you realize the ref's going to stop. The ref's going to stand out of bounds at about the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
You would have thought, okay, this guy's in his 4th year. He's been up and down. You would think, okay,
Pat's got the ball at about the 9.5 right here.
As a false start. You would think, okay, they're going to try and get in his face. And they probably tried, but they didn't succeed. So they both move. Do they call this a neutral zone infraction, or they call it false start? False start.
It is a false start.
The Giant guy kind of moved. I don't know who it was, but then he didn't really go into the neutral zone. And then Watson moved, yeah.
It's Strahan, isn't it?
Is it Strahan? In this day and age, that might be an encroachment, which I actually don't like, but...
Patriots have 41 plays run on offense, 19 have been for 0 yards or less, and so that's like...
the most high-powered offense of all time.
That's damn close to half.
Yeah, and we're through 3 quarters here, or almost through 3 quarters, so... First and 15, and they're at their own 5 here, getting late in the 3rd quarter. And again, they've managed to hold on here. And
again, they smack Eli.
Brady.
Or smack Brady, rather, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it's Mitchell.
Mitchell again.
Again, another one that might be a flag today because he gets him in the head, but not with his helmet, just with his arms. But, they're not giving him a moment's peace. You would think, okay, it's 1st and 15, you're backed up. I'm guessing, and it's the same play. Mitchell just comes through the middle. He drilled. Yeah, that's a 15-yard penalty today, but it wasn't at the time. And the thing with this is, like, I'm guessing they're thinking safety here. You know what I mean? They're probably thinking we got to get, we can come up with a safety and get this to 7-5. And why wouldn't you think that with the way they've rushed, right? Brady takes a short drop.
And hits Welker over the middle again.
Hits Welker. They get the first
Welker
down.
11 catches for over 100 yards in this game.
And you realize here, this is what they realized they had to do. We got to take short drops. We got to throw it to Welker.
Get it out quick.
Get it out. Over the middle of the field is fine, and line up against these giant. Get Welker against Kevin Dockery or a safety or something like that, or a linebacker. There he's covered by Jabril Wilson, who was a good player and actually used this game to get a huge deal from the Raiders. Ended up coming back to the Giants later on. But a bunch of guys. That was the one down. A bunch of guys on this defense signed big deals elsewhere after this, which is, again, that comes with it. It's part of it. But now they're getting the running going. And again, you just, at this point, you're lamenting missed opportunities. We're going to hold this team to 14 points and still lose this game, that kind of thing. As we're inside at 2 minutes in the third quarter, and it's like, I don't know if I remember thinking this at the time, but it was like, well, it's going to be nice that we played this team really well twice, but they're still going to go 19-0 and win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Giants are going to be a footnote, too.
Yeah, hey, the 79 Rams gave the Steelers a really nice game in that Super Bowl out of nowhere, and people were like, hey, good job, as the Steelers won their 4th Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Well, and you also have to realize that the Giants hadn't been a factor in the NFL. The last Super Bowl they'd made, they were very, very much a footnote.
We got a nice shot of some bananas.
Some bananas.
I guess, are they maybe saying that they're like
trying to keep vitamin B or whatever.
Potassium.
Yeah. Usually when the bananas get to that color, that's when I'm saying to my wife, do we have a plan for these?
Well, that's what I was wondering, if maybe that was because they're in Arizona and the heat. I mean, it is February, but...
That could be.
I feel like that's the thing Collinsworth would have said something smarmy about.
I guess they got their bananas there. I'm not sure what the point of that is.
Or something about them being brown.
Welker over the middle again, right there.
Yep. So they're moving.
And I don't know if you guys caught it. We can't rewind, but if anybody else just caught it as you're watching the video, there was a guy there, and it's Christmas Eve today. A guy there who looked like Santa Claus was at the game with his white beard. But if you saw it, you saw it. If you didn't,
well, he would have done his work for the year.
Exactly. Everybody's retired.
Nice vacation in Arizona.
Yeah,
in
that's where all the
February.
old people go in February. This is probably the last play of the quarter here. 1st and 10, right around midfield.
Yeah, they're right past the 50. They've played a lot of
driving.
Yeah, they've played a lot of this game at midfield. Brady overthrows Welker there. Welker would have had 6 or 7 yards at least to the sideline, and Brady sails it on him out of bounds. Although he's very mad at somebody. I don't. It seemed like that was his fault.
That was almost I think that was a miscommunication. I don't think that was just an overthrow.
And now we get another fault, and these guys are jumping because of the Giants' pass rush. And Brady's looking for an encroachment, but I don't think he gets it. Yeah, Matt Light jumps there. These guys are, you can tell they're jumpy because of the pass rush. And they're moving too quick, and now we're seeing Corey Webster, who'd missed, I think he got hurt in the Week 17 game, and missed at least the Tampa game, maybe even the Dallas game. Because a couple of guys did get hurt in that game. Because O'Hara got hurt, and I think missed at least the first playoff game, and Webster did. Because there were people on second and 15 here. Brady drops back. He
gets good protection for once.
Yeah, talks himself into a hit, though. He did take a hit there, but...
And I think he could have had Moss on there with a perfect throw. Moss was behind the defensive backs.
The one thing I want to say... let's look at this real quick. Yeah, Moss, he is... Yeah, he's got,
would have had to have been a
better throw.
Yeah.
But so a couple of guys got hurt in that New England game. In hindsight, it was unanimous, and I'm not going to say most people didn't agree. There were some people in the couple of days after that were like, oh, great, we started guys in a game we didn't need to put up a good show.
Yeah.
Because the thing was with that was, and I'll just wait till the last play of the third here on 3rd and 15 with 6 seconds left, and Brady throws a pass to Stallworth, and the clock again doesn't run, but I think that's the end of the third quarter anyway. As we head to the end, is it the end of the third quarter?
I think it is. I don't know whether this was a thing that was...
yeah, it is.
I'd have to pull out the DVD, whether this was an issue on the broadcast.
I think it was.
There's an issue with the YouTube video.
No, I think it was a broadcast.
It was on the broadcast.
So the one thing I wanted to say is the Patriots get ready to punt here on the first play of the fourth quarter. It was not unanimous that the Giants did the right thing. And the thing, too, is the Giants had gotten their butts kicked in the playoffs in 2005 against Carolina, which... Anybody who, if you know the kind of defense they started that game, they were bringing guys off the street to start at linebacker in that game. They almost brought Jesse Armstead back. I'm serious.
That doesn't surprise me.
They were not going to win that game. And then the next year, they had kind of fallen apart in a shot of LL Cool J in the stands. And I can't see who all these people are. It's a little dark. There's Giselle again. Frank Caliendo. they hadn't won a playoff game, and the big thing was like, can they win a playoff game with this guy?
Yeah.
Nobody was talking. A lot of people were not talking Super Bowl. They were like, can they beat this Tampa Bay team? Because early in the game, they're losing to Tampa. They end up blowing Tampa out pretty good, but they're losing, I think, 7-0, and it's starting again. Oh, the Giants can't win in the Super Bowl.
10 combined points through 3 quarters, which is Super Bowl 9 was, and that was the first. That was the Steelers and Vikings in Super Bowl 9. That was
That was a big play here. So Manning hits Kevin Boss.
That's right. Doesn't he get tackled?
Kevin Boss catches it, makes a big gain. He gets shoestring tackled by Rodney Harrison. Now they're going to show Jeremy Shockey up in the box. They haven't yet, but I know they're going to. And the one thing I used to Manning, they take the snap at the 20-yard line. Manning, it's play action. He throws it. Boss catches it. We got a long view of Eli Manning there. Boss runs a nice route. He catches it at the 40. He slips a defender, and he gets 20 to 25 more yards because Harrison misses the tackle initially and then stays with him. Gets a big gain. So the Giants are now at the 35-yard line. They definitely showed Shockey in the live broadcast. Maybe they do it after this play.
Yeah, they definitely have cut some longer huddles and stuff out.
Yeah. There's a run to Ahmad Bradshaw, who gets back up, but he's down by contact. Yeah, there's Shockey. And there are a few drinks around him, but whatever. I do remember thinking at the time, because I loved Shockey, I remember thinking he would have scored on that. If he was healthy, he would have scored. That's probably not a fair thing to say, but he was so fast at the time for his position, I remember thinking there's no way Harrison catches him here.
Wouldn't you say, though, that by 2007, Shockey's best years were behind him?
Yeah, probably
before he got hurt.
Although you do have to remember, 2 years later, he had a hand in the Saints winning the Super Bowl.
He had a hand, but he wasn't.
No,
what
it wasn't.
He once was. And he caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
So the Giants are moving, and this is, again, it's like, all right, well, this needs to be a drive. They need to do something here. There's 13 minutes left. They got a field goal. They need to score. I remember thinking they need to score a touchdown on this drive. And they run it twice, so now it's 3rd and 5. Around 3rd and 5, Bradshaw getting into it a little as we tick to the 13-minute mark. Just going back to that Week 17 game, most people were glad they did what they did, but there were a few people like, well, I wish we had Corey Webster against the Bucs next week instead of, feeling good that we almost beat the Patriots. At this point, Manning is 11 of 21 for 148 yards, 1 interception, which was not at all his fault. But I think it's safe to say those numbers are going to go up pretty significantly here in the next little while. 3rd and 4, 30-yard line, so it'd be a long field goal from here. And again, a field goal you're still down. So Manning drops back, he gets pretty good protection, and he hits Steve Smith over the middle. Smith has a lot more catches in this game than I remember. There's one, obviously, I remember forever. But he's more of a factor in this game than I remembered. So he lines up. Smith really fakes his defender out, catches it at about the 13-yard line, does a good job holding on to the ball because he gets kind of his legs cut out from under him on the tackle. And the Giants are as deep as they've been all game. Because even that field goal drive, they didn't get this close, did they?
No, they weren't within the 15-yard line by any means.
So it's 1st and 10. And we'll obviously be a little more play-by-play focused as we go here. Manning hands it off to Bradshaw, who gets a really nice gain to the 6-yard line. So Giants have 2nd and about 4, and Bradshaw's kicking at Rodney. Rodney Harrison was dirty. I know he's like an analyst now and wears a suit, but he was a dirty player.
Bradshaw could be reactive sometimes, too.
Yeah. Showing the Giants in the huddle, the offensive line standing there. It's got to be weird knowing you're playing the most important thing of your career. You know what I mean? Trying to, in the moment, to try and not focus on that, but knowing, we're in the Super Bowl in the 4th quarter inside the 5-yard line. So it's 2nd and 3 at the 5 here as they show Kevin Gilbride. This was his first year as their offensive coordinator. He'd been the quarterback's coach the years before this. Manning with the play-action fake. David Tyree over the middle.
And that's...
Touchdown Giants.
And Tyree had not been a factor...
Special teams, but not on offense.
Yeah, not on offense. He caught one touchdown, one pass earlier, and then there it is. And I'm going to take a little break here.
Yep. David Tyree with what would be the biggest catch in his career for a few minutes. They're showing Peyton Manning going crazy up, or stoically going crazy up. Manning with a great fake there, Eli, and he threads the needle in there to get David Tyree for the touchdown. Giants lining up for the extra point. I remember obsessing over this extra point, even though it was the era of the extra point from the 2-yard line. And Tynes makes it easily. Boss had a 45-yard catch on the drive. It was 6 plays, 80 yards, just under 4 minutes. So the Giants score. It's 10-7, just over 11 minutes left. And, again, this Patriots offense is going to get a few cracks at this, and I think we were all cognizant of that at the time. But they have the lead in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. So even the most sort of doomsday fan has at least at this point allowed the thought that they might win this game to creep in. The Patriots get called for a penalty on the return, so they're going to be in really bad field position here. They're backed up again to about the 10-yard line. They're showing Tyree sitting there on the sidelines. Again, I can't help but think about the fact that the guy thinks, I just made the biggest catch of my career, and he was right for another 20 minutes, real time. This is the first touchdown the Patriots defense had allowed in 10 quarters. So going back to the first quarter of the divisional round, that must have been against Jacksonville, because they didn't allow an offensive touchdown against the Chargers in the AFC. So it's 1st and 10 at the 10-yard line for the Patriots, and they're showing Tuck. The Giants defense is playing with a lead for the first time since the first quarter, and they got to be salivating at the chance here to get after the Patriots. So Brady gets good time here. First play, now he's getting Moss involved. Moss makes the catch out across the 25-yard line. So they pick up a sizable chunk on this first play. Brady takes a full 5-step drop for the first time in a while without having somebody in his face, and he hits Moss over the middle. Moss, I would say who was covering Moss, but nobody in particular seemed to be covering Moss, so it really didn't seem to matter all that much. So now they're at the 27. Brady's in the shotgun. This time they go to Welker. There's no tackle made. Welker gets about 6 yards across the 30, and you can tell the Patriots are coming here. Or, the Patriots they realize that time is of the essence as well.
And we have our special guest here, my lovely wife Allison, whose voice you've heard in the past, here to watch what was not necessarily as good of a moment for Patriots fans as it was for Giants fans.
No, I'll plan to leave before that.
Yeah, well, you're here just in time now to see them take the lead.
Exactly.
Yes.
Run away. It's a game I vowed not to rewatch, and then I married a fan of the opposite team. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here. I have games that I wouldn't do this for. So OC gets after Brady, but Brady avoids the pressure, throws an incompletion to Moss, and you can tell now. Okay, Welker was fine, Stallworth, whatever. I think they realize at this point we're going to have to hit something to Moss to win this game at some point.
Allison, you and I were were you living in D.C. by this point? You must have been, right? Because this is February of 2008.
I was indeed living in D.C. at this point. I watched this game by myself.
Really?
Yes. My girlfriends at the time were not football fans, and I didn't know you yet, so therefore, yes, I was alone.
Well, 4 years later, we had started dating, and we had gotten invited to a Super Bowl party with a bunch of Patriots fans, and I didn't go.
Correct.
I stayed and watched it by myself.
So Brady avoids pressure, but again, it's incomplete on third down. Oh, and I forgot about this next drive. So that's the thing that I think people forget. There was a drive where the Giants had the ball and the lead in the fourth quarter, and they almost put the game away. No, you don't remember this play?
I don't. I'll have to get to it.
We'll get to it when we get to it. So the Giants, I think in my head I conflate that, okay, the Patriots took back over and went down and scored again on top of the Giants like they did in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. The Giants are about to get the ball with 9 minutes left and the lead, and something happens or doesn't happen but almost happens.
So while we're punting, just give Allison's a little bit of a... You're probably the one Patriot fan that I know that doesn't really like Bill Belichick.
I think there are more out there. He was not as bad during these years. It's been his later, more surly years that's hard to be a fan of him sometimes. He
did kind of go, as time went on and he won more. And I think some of it kind of comes from this time period where he was starting to have the scandals and everything. He got a little more standoffish.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always think to the Super Bowl that they won against Seattle, which was one of the games they had no business winning. Malcolm Butler was just on the bench and never an explanation as to why, and that would have been, as a Patriots fan, you wanted to know.
Was that Super Bowl, or was that the one they lost? That might have been the Philly Super Bowl.
Oh,
I think it was
right.
the Philly.
It was the Philly one.
So just on this play, I think, is that Wilfork?
That was Wilfork, yeah.
He comes up with the ball, but it was after the play was blown dead. And the Giants, I remember being mad at the time, like, please don't act like we're going to run 9.5 minutes off this clock without trying to be aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And to their credit, they don't. They do try something here, but... I think the thing that happened with Belichick, too, is instead of it became a put-on at some point. And everybody will deny that, but, like, it's not hard to answer, and this might be the play here, so it's 2nd and 9. I think this is the play. Manning gets rushed. He comes out of it, and he overthrows Burris, and Burris probably would have had 30 yards on this play.
Yeah, that's true. Just out of his grasp.
Manning evades pressure. People have said he's going to score. I don't, especially with Burris's leg at this point.
Yeah.
But Burris would have had at least a first down and possibly 20 to 30 yards. Manning does a great job evading pressure. I thought he was going to run right before the line of scrimmage. He throws to Burris, who is, again, there is a lot of green in front of him, and he overthrows him by a couple of yards. But yeah, I think the thing with Belichick was like, the reporter says, Bill, what did you think about your offense tonight? You can go, we did some things well, we did some things not well. Like, but instead, he decided he would just be as glib as possible. And that was, to me, that was where it became like, all right, you're doing this on purpose now. And then, so you're being just as bad as the guys who dance around. You know what I mean?
He pulled a Greg Popovich without the finesse of Greg Popovich.
And then the other thing, too, is that a lot of these guys now, like, who was the clown for the Giants that used to pull that? Was it McAdoo who used to always...
Yeah.
It's like these guys now, they want to act like they're Belichick when Belichick's won more Super Bowls and they've won games in the NFL.
Well, yeah, he became the archetype where, like, for a while they all tried to be Parcells and be sarcastic and whatever.
Yeah.
Then they all tried to become like, well, we'll just do what we got to do, and we'll be on to the next game, and the best 11 guys will start, and that's my decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
He did have a good quote I saw the other day. It was because he's loosened up a little. He was in some sort of interview maybe talking to another. I think it might have been a thing him and Saban do where they talk to each other.
Yeah.
And because the thing too is he's got to adjust to losing a lot more now. Mm-hmm. And he said he's like, I get on the plane and my assistants have these computers open and they're like, well, this is what I was like. Guys, we lost because we can't tackle. he's like, we can't tackle. That's why we lost the game. We didn't lose because of like. He's like, we don't tackle. And it's like he's got a little of that. He just very purposely chooses to never show it.
Yeah.
So that real quick, the Giants just punted it away with 8 minutes left. Welker fair caught it at the 20. And this is the last game for the Giants equipment manager, John Johnson, who'd been there since 1940. Athletic trainer, yeah. And this is the drive that the Patriots go down and take the lead. So
this is it, yeah.
So
you'll enjoy this one, and then
I will exit stage left after this.
That's very understandable. So they show John Mara up there again. Wellington Mara died in 2005, so this is only his second full year as the owner. And as critical as I am of him now, he had to make some decisions. Do we stick with the coach? Do we stick with the quarterback? And obviously it pays off. First play, Brady hits Welker for about 7 yards. And
what
again,
else?
They're trying this quick drop because they don't want to drop back 7 yards. They did occasionally, but they're trying to, just... I was saying, Allison, before, it's very weird to think that Wes Welker, for how long and how good he was, he never won a Super Bowl with them. Because he was in that perfect intermediate period between the two,
yes,
that he never won the Super Bowl. He was gone right before they started winning again. And then
you think of him as a Super Bowl champ. Like, if you were not thinking about it, you'd think he would have won.
And for good measure, he then went to Denver, and he was on the team that got their butts kicked against Seattle in the Super Bowl, and he was gone by the time they did win one. So now they get Moss. And I remember thinking on this drive, not quite yet, but in a minute, the Patriots are losing, and they're milking the clock. Mm-hmm. I was like, they are so arrogant, rightfully so, that they are milking the clock even though they're losing.
Yeah. They know that. Yeah.
And they're not even in. They're at the 30-yard line, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll take our time. We're going to score." Like, which is probably a little projection because if they could have done it that easily, they would have done
They'd
it.
have more than 7 points.
Yeah, but the clock is. And I remember thinking like, "Oh shit, we're running." The Giants are winning, and I'm like, "They're running out of time. They're running out of time."
Yep.
That's how good this Patriot team was, and they run it here, and Maroney gets a first. He
Either gets the first down or he's just short of it. Yeah. Who were some of your, just real quick, because you really more like the defensive guys. You were into like the Vrabels and the Bruchies.
I was a Vrabel, a Brewski. I always did like Vince Wilfork.
And they showed him before, just as you were coming down.
It was hard not to be a Wes Welker fan. I also was, prior to this, I was a big Troy Brown and Deion Branch fan. It was sort of the original
I think
guys.
Brown was on this team.
Was he back on the team, or was he always?
Brought back. I don't remember if this is the year, but one year he did come back. He was, I think, might have been gone the previous year, and
over the middle to Welker again, by the way.
And he came back for passes just like what Welker did, because that's when Brady can get into his rhythm. And whenever Brady doesn't have a Welker or an Edelman, the ball just, it never seems to move quite as well.
Yeah, and those early teams, the three that actually won before this, they were very defensive-heavy teams. Yeah. I mean, Brady obviously was a factor, but this was the first time they'd ever really had this style of offense.
You had Ty Law, Willie McGinnis, like those were the Richard Seymour. Those were the
there was sort of the roving evolution of from a defense team to suddenly they were this. Then they had the thing, a few years later where it was all about the tight ends, Gronkowski and Hernandez. They always sort of evolved the type of team that they were. And then the rest of, and I don't think it was that they adjusted to the league. I think the rest of the league tended to follow them.
Yeah.
But I had said before that the team the year before this was good, but their leading receiver was Rashae Caldwell. Then they went out and got 3 receivers and were like, we'll just break every record there is, and they did. So just to reset it here, they're at 2nd and 6 at the Giant 40. So
Welker's got 10 catches, and he's about to tie a Super Bowl record, one shy of the record, which he does tie. I don't know if that's still the record, but he ties a Super Bowl record with 11 here.
And by the way, on this play, we're going to tick under 5 minutes. Brady gets hit, but...
And there's Welker tying the record. Nice block, too, by I think that's Maroney in the open field.
So now they're inside the 30. So they're at least in, you would imagine, going to tie it range, right?
Yeah, exactly.
At this point, they can kick a reasonable field goal without even needing another first down. So, it's a little early for the Giants to think about taking timeouts, but it's certainly, you're not going to win the game 10-7 at this point. They have to know that.
Yeah, they do.
And Gostkowski, was this Gostkowski's second year with them?
Well, at least because Vinatieri was on the Colt team in 06.
Was he on the Patriots in 05 still, I think?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer.
So I
don't think, did he leave immediately?
I don't think so. I think 05 he was on the Patriots, and then 06 he was on the Colts because he went and won the Super Bowl with the Colts. Brady throws it's the first thing that's gone wrong on this drive. He throws an incompletion. So it's 2nd and 10 with 4:12 left. We'll just kind of keep referencing the time as we get closer now. Brady, at this point, he's up to 26 of 40 for 237 yards. He's also not getting hit much on this drive. Yeah. He's getting hit a little bit, but he's not. That whole second and third quarter, every time he dropped back to pass, he was getting drilled. A lot of times when he still had the ball.
Yeah.
I think this was one of the first years of this Zoom camera thing, too, the overhead camera.
Yeah.
That was a relatively new innovation at this point that they showed.
That's probably why they're using it so much.
Yeah. All right, so Brady fakes the handoff. And now he's got, who is that?
That's Moss.
Oh, it is Moss. All right.
Moss is starting to come alive here.
And they're just, the Giants just are on their heels at this point. Like, there's no double moves or anything. They're just Moss, Welker, whoever, make one move, be there for the ball. The Giant defense is a step slow.
And this is what I thought was going to happen all along.
Yeah.
Eventually the Patriots were just going to be like, all right, we've had enough of this.
3-step drops, quick throws, neutralize the pass rush. Yeah, that's what it felt like was coming. And now Tuck is off the field on this first down with 3:39 left. And again, they are milking the clock at this point. They know they're going to score a touchdown. Brady's in the shotgun. No pressure. Right over the middle is that Falk.
Yeah, that's Falk.
Falk.
Yeah.
So now it's 1st and goal at the 8, and now I'm thinking timeouts. Start taking timeouts.
By the way, just to go back real quick, Troy Brown played one game for the 07 Patriots. It was his last season in the NFL. So, one game in late November.
Yeah, well, this was there wasn't too many guys left on this team from the 04 team, was there? The last Super Bowl team at this point?
I mean, Vrabel and Brewski and those.
Kevin Falk, obviously, but like...
Matt Light, some of the offensive linemen, I'm pretty sure, were the same.
But it's just... Richard Seymour was still on this. Maybe there's a few more than I'm thinking of. I think by 11, all those guys were gone, pretty much, by the next time they played the Giants.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody left from 04 and 11. I think
there's definitely nobody between their 2 Super Bowls, between 04 and 14. There's nobody but Brady left on the team, right?
That sounds right.
I don't think
Yeah,
there was
I don't
any,
think
would have
there
been
was.
anybody left.
10 years is a long time. In NFL.
Oh, yeah. All right, so it's first and goal now with just under 3 minutes left. I believe this is the touchdown. Or no, Moss is on the wrong side of the field for it to be the touchdown. Oh, no, never mind. Yep, yeah. So Moss is open, and Brady kind of overthrows him in the end zone. This is the play. So it's second and goal with 2:49 left. Again, a worst-case scenario for the... And remember, we're still in the overtime is sudden death era.
Yep.
For a few more years, even in the playoffs. No Super Bowl's gone to overtime at this point. And I remember thinking, if this game goes to overtime and the Giants don't start with the ball, the game's over. There's no way they were going to let them kick a field goal here, go to overtime, and then stop the Patriots. Even though they'd only let up 7 points at this point. So you got Moss down on the sideline. He's basically pointing exactly where he's going to go. He fakes Corey Webster out.
No, this wasn't the play. He tried to go to Welker.
I guess I'll just be quiet. So it's third down. So that's even worse because it's third down. Now, I guess the one thing that's positive for the Giants there is they're both incompletions. Save some clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the defense is, after basically letting them run all the way down the field, the defense is finally tightening up when they need to. Now, that doesn't last, but...
But, I mean, if those had both been completions inbounds and the clock had run, you know what I mean?
Before we lose you, Allison, here just for a minute, did it hurt any less when the Giants, not just because of me, but you kind of have always had a soft spot a little bit for the Giants?
Yeah, growing up, my parents were Giants fans, ostensibly, in addition to being Patriots fans, because when they were young, the Patriots were often blacked out on TV, so the Giants were what played, and so that's what they watched growing up. So if there was going to be another team to win against the Patriots, I was pleased it was the Giants.
And I believe there's a lot of reasons, and it's pretty much dying out now because of how good the Patriots have been, and also just that it's been 15 years longer, but like obviously a certain generation of people from New England tended to be Giants fans because the Patriots either did exist or in the AFL, whatever. But I think that's why the Giants have more of Connecticut than maybe the Yankees do.
Yeah, it's
because of the 75-mile blackout radius. Yeah. The closest you could get a Giant game in like the 50s and 60s when they were good was like Hartford. So I think that's why the Giants have a little more of Connecticut than maybe the Yankees do, or
the Giants also, they have a lot of memorable moments from when they played in Connecticut.
Oh, in the Yale Bowl.
Four games at the Yale Bowl.
Beat Radcliffe.
75.
But yeah. So, and truthfully, it's weird because there was never really a rivalry, obviously, with these two Super Bowls. But I think before that, most Giant fans didn't, have any major issues, and probably the other way, even though the Giants are a New York team. There's another New York team in their division that they're going to save their...
Yeah, there's a much more of a dislike for the Jets.
It's like why I don't dislike the Phillies. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's...
True.
All right, third and goal. And this is going to be the play. Moss is down on the bottom of the screen with single coverage on Corey Webster. Webster slips. And Moss scores the touchdown.
Not difficult.
Right, standing up. Doesn't seem all that surprised by it. The time is 2:42 left. He does his celebration thing, which I've always wondered if that was actually a filthy thing. I don't know what it is, but... So Moss scores, 2:42 left, and in a second you're going to see a shot, which I've seen the reverse angle a million times, but this is the actual live game shot of it, of Strahan on the sideline.
Oh, when he's saying 17-14.
So they'll show it in a second, but Strahan's walking off the field. Actually, they play defense one more time. But it's an extra point coming with 2:42 left. It was a big extra point because if they block it, a field goal ties it.
But this was before they moved the extra points back. So
yeah, no, he's never going to miss an extra point. But Webster just falls.
Are we about to lose you here?
You are. This is the drive that I choose not to read or watch.
But before you go, I would just note that this was kind of like right in the middle of like a real... 2007, 2008 was a crazy year for Boston sports because you had the Sox won the World Series for the second time, and the Celtics in June of 2008 were the championship team. So this was like right in the middle of this period in Boston sports.
They would have had all three if this game had ended at this point.
They would have had all three.
The Bruins were playing well at this point.
So,
BU was a year off from winning the national championship. It was great.
Since we started dating, your teams, I got the first one. I got the Giants winning the Super Bowl in 2011, and then since
nothing
then,
since.
Now
we've
you-
gotten, 3 Patriots Super Bowls and another
And
couple
plus
Red
the Tom Brady Super
couple
Bowl
Red
in Tampa
Sox,
Bay,
yeah, second team.
You see the Giants' offensive linemen, O.C. Strahan,
Defensive linemen.
defensive linemen, who've all played so well, sitting on the bench with their heads hung because when it mattered the most, they couldn't come up with it.
Although they're flashing a graphic here. Giants have 5 fourth quarter comebacks in the season.
Moss is
fired up.
Moss is yelling at the defense, and I think we're about to see the other side where Strahan basically is yelling at the offensive linemen, and he's saying 17-14. They're right here. He's saying 17-14 is the final. 1 touchdown, and we are world champions. 17-14 is the final. But the thing is, he knows he can't do anything about it.
It's true.
He's got to go stand there again. So, Giants take the return. I remember thinking, can we get a good return? And he's
We
tackled
could
at the
not.
15.
Did not.
Allison,
Wow.
thanks for
Thank
joining
you very
us.
much, Allison.
Enjoy the rest of the game.
Thank you. So,
As she departs.
So let's just set the stage here. Thanks, Allison. The Giants are at their own 15-yard line. They have 2 minutes and 39 seconds to go, and they need a touchdown against probably the greatest defensive coach.
Mm-hmm.
So they're at the 16 officially, and I don't blame Hickson for taking that out there. He's trying to make a play.
Yeah.
And I remember going, okay, first play of this is important. I think Bill Walsh say that one time, that in these situations, the first play is important.
You want to set a tone.
Yeah. So here's Manning in the huddle, and I guess they've said since then he made this could have been the second quarter against Detroit.
They always say that
Yeah.
about guys. So they never have to say that a guy came in and, oh my God, he was crazy. He was crapping his pants.
Yeah. Or he was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah.
So a 17-yard line first play, and there's so many plays on this drive. Eli drops back, he gets good time. First play, he gets Toomer over the middle for a first down to about the 28-yard line.
The other thing, too, is that in an NFL huddle, there's so much information that you have
Yeah.
to impart. It's not like you're just saying, okay, we're going to throw it to this guy. You don't have 20 seconds to be, firing people up.
Yeah, slapping guys in the helmet. Like,
It's not like that.
38 go, XYZ, fire cross.
Yeah, some guy, you take time to fire people up, and all of a sudden some guy forgets to block.
So 2:10 left. This is probably the last play before the 2-minute warning.
Low snap.
Low snap in the shotgun. Eli throws a risky ball over the middle to Burris. High, incomplete. So 2:04 left. They get one more play before the 2-minute warning. Yeah, that was a tough throw there. I mean, he tried to go up the ladder to Burris because of Burris's height, but too high, incomplete.
And as a Giant fan, you're on your edge of your seat for this whole drive. And I think that's partially why when the Tyree play happens, I didn't think of it as this amazing thing right off because every play was...
Yeah, and we'll obviously get to that in a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes here, but it's just, the thing is that by the time you understood what happened on that Tyree play, it was 3rd and 12.
And now Manning again
Off his
pressure.
back
again.
foot, that's the worst throw. That's the risky throw.
Yeah.
He throws off his back foot into double coverage, and they're going to talk about the Asante Samuel play. We're at the 2-minute warning, by the way. They're going to talk about the Asante Samuel play. That wasn't as close as I think some people think. That pass off his back foot into 2 defenders, that could have been intercepted.
Mm-hmm.
That very easily could have been intercepted. We got Buck and Aikman they're talking to in the booth now with they just came back from the commercial for the 2-minute warning. And I mean, I can't remember specifics at this point. I just remember being a basket case sitting at Andy's house. And,
Yeah.
And just, what do you even do? How do you even... I guess in my head, I'm mostly trying to process that they're going to lose.
Yeah.
Just to prepare myself for it.
Well, 3rd and 10 at their own 23 here. I mean, that's not...
Thinking about, well, they can't punt. They can't punt. I mean, they don't have the time. You know what I mean?
How many timeouts do they have here? They don't have that up on the
that was a
display
later
yet.
thing. So Manning takes another low snap, throws it again. Toomer catches it, and that's right. Toomer catches it, and it's a question of does he have it or not. And they mark him short. They mark him about half a yard short of the first down, so it's 4th down.
Yeah, and so here's another place where it's like... So it's 4th down.
And Toomer could have rolled. That's what's unfortunate.
But low snap.
Low throw.
Line coming in. Not a great throw. Toomer has to go to his knees. And I guess it is a... Yeah, you're right. He probably...
But I guess he's not trying to lose the ball there. But he's... Like, if you see the yellow line, the one half of his... I actually think they should have spotted that a little closer. One half of his body is... So, this is actually a really good chance to talk about Brandon Jacobs real quick. Obviously taking over for Tiki Barber. He'd been on the team for 3 years. Was seen as kind of a short yardage back. He'd been a bit of a loudmouth, which I grew to love. But this is one of those, everyone in the world knows what you're going to do here.
Yeah.
Everyone in the world. And I guess they're looking here to make sure it was a catch, and it is a catch. Everyone in the world knows what you're going to do here. You got to get one block and one forward push to get this first down. Jacobs is in the backfield. The Patriots are in really tight. Hedgecock's the lead blocker. They go to Jacobs, and he gets it, but not by much.
He gets it just barely. Yeah, and that's the thing, too.
He gets it by maybe a foot. Like, I think the back end of the ball just cleared the line. So he gets it by a foot. Like, the length of the ball he gets it by. But now, again, it's, okay, they got the first down. Great. There's 1:22. The clock's about to start running again. And the Giants are still on their side of the field here. And it's not a foregone conclusion he's going to get this. He keeps his left. He gets his left hand down and moves his right arm forward and gets it. But it is close. All 3 timeouts for both teams left. And I believe here we go. Oh no, never mind. That's a couple plays from now.
Yeah, it's not on a first down.
No, yeah, you're right. So I think they lose a yard here. Manning tries to. Yeah, all right. So Manning drops back. He tries to sneak. A faster quarterback gets a few yards here. He gets a couple yards, but he loses the ball at the end. The ball comes out. I think they rule him down by contact.
But this is my point here.
They're not moving fast enough. Well,
there's not this moving fast enough, but every play
is almost a disaster.
Every play you're on the edge of your seat, like whether just missing the first down. Will Jacobs get the first down? This play where it's like, broken play and he's got to run because he fumbled, and so. They're not. This is not a Joe Montana, Tom Brady drive,
and he's down here. But man, he's not.
He's down more than you'd think.
But I mean, like that guy could have stripped that ball. Another Coughlin's right there. He is right. He's doing everything he can to not touch. He doesn't want to touch the ref, but he's yelling as loud as he can.
Timeout.
And he's like an inch from the ref's head. So the Giants take their first timeout. There's 1:20 left. They're showing Coughlin pacing up and down. Obviously he's been there 4 years. He just narrowly avoided getting fired in 2006. There'd been a lot of issues. Yeah, they made the playoffs 2 of his 3 years, but this was not a team that before this season was expected to be very good. There was people who thought he was just kind of on borrowed time. So now we get second and 6? Second and 5. Eli drops back to pass, throws it away. That's the one.
This is the play that everybody's like, Asante Samuel could have picked that off.
Now, if you watch the reverse angle, it's not as close, and he probably wouldn't have come down in bounds, but he throws it. The only guy who's anywhere near it is Asante Samuel, who has it go through his hands. Again, I'm not positive he would have caught this. This doesn't show it. I'm not positive he's catching this and coming down in bounds. He certainly could have caught it, but his feet don't come down in bounds after he doesn't catch it. So, who knows? But now we get 3rd and 5, 1:15 left. They're still on their own side of the field. Eli's in the shotgun. Here comes the pass rush. They got him by the collar. No, he spins out of it. Suddenly steps into the throw. Middle of the field, there's David Tyree. David Tyree down. They land on the Super Bowl logo. And do you remember your live thoughts of this? My live thought was there's no way he caught it. I was like, he couldn't have caught that. How and now for the first time, we get the reverse angle, which will live forever. He's got the ball pinned between his right hand and the helmet while Rodney Harrison wrestles him down. Eli Manning is... 3 guys have their hands on Eli Manning. He steps out of it, throws it over the middle of the field, and Tyree... And then that was always my question is, as he's falling there, does the ball hit the ground as he's backwards here? And it doesn't. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, my first quote was exactly that there's no way they're going to call this a catch after they look at it. It doesn't make sure the ball hits the ground.
I thought sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, Sean O'Hara is blocking Richard Seymour, and he says...
Timeout Giants, by the way, 59 seconds.
He says later, I said, screw it. I was squeezing his trachea as hard as I could and not letting go. Yeah. So the refs missed that.
So there's Tyree. He's got 3 catches now. One was unremarkable, one was a touchdown, and one was the greatest catch in Super Bowl history.
But again, it's like, at the time, it's like it's just another play that,
the Giants take their timeout. It's 1st and 10. They're at the. I think a lot of people, because of the highlight, think the next play is a touchdown.
No, there's a lot more to still happen.
So they're at the 25, 24, whatever. 59 seconds left. They're down to one timeout. Still need a touchdown to win the game. Manning goes into the shotgun here, and again, people forget these next couple of plays. So he's in the shotgun. He's got Jacobs back there with him. Drops back. Nothing there. He decides to take off. He gets sacked. I think they technically call it like a half-yard loss. He gets close to back to the line of scrimmage, but the clock's running now, and they got one timeout left, and he gets sacked.
And your heart is in your throat every time Eli takes off and runs like that.
Oh, they used their last time out there? I guess they used their last time out there. Because, yeah, somebody's behind him. Anytime somebody's behind him, he could fumble. He's not holding that ball like he's not worried, like he's not going to fumble it. So, again, that's the play after the helmet catch is a sack. Or whatever. I mean, it was technically a sack. He didn't lose many yards, but that's the play after the helmet catch. So now it's 2nd and 11. The Giants had to use their last time out with 51 seconds left. So you would still, at this point, say the Patriots are going to win this game. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, because it's... First of all, they're the Patriots, and how do you not think that they're going to pull it out? Because, like I said, they were the type of team where... they would play with you and play with you and play with you until suddenly they just had enough. And yeah, the Giants are moving down the field, but they're not doing it in a way it doesn't feel surgical. No. They're getting lucky.
The last Patriots drive was surgical.
Exactly.
Quick drop back Welker, quick drop back Moss, Maroney on a screen, or run to Maroney, quick drop back Welker again. This is like fits and starts, and a guy had to catch the ball with his helmet.
Yeah, the only play that seemed to go exactly as they wanted it to go was that Jacobs up the middle for the first down.
So Eli's back in the shotgun on 2nd and 11. Pocket's kind of collapsing again.
And that's Tyree.
Yeah.
This is the one who's 31 for the Patriots. Is that Samuel?
I forgot about that one. He just throws the ball up in the air.
No, 31 is Merriweather.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, this could have been picked off so easily. Look at that.
Should have been. And then Tyree almost catches it.
Yeah, can you imagine if he...
So he tips it, it goes to his hands, and then Tyree almost catches it, going to the ground, he gets wrestled to the ground, and doesn't catch it. It would have been like a 6-yard gain. So now we're at 3rd and 11.
If Tyree catches that, it would have been hard not to give him the MVP. It would have been hard anyway.
But here's the thing. Might not have been good if he caught that. They don't need timeouts. They can't spike it.
Clock
so here we go. 3rd and 11. Helmet catches happen already. It's 3rd and 11. Manning's in the shotgun. Slides out. Smith catches it about 4 yards shy of the first down, and he sort of shuffles his feet and falls out of bounds just past the marker. So Steve Smith just converted a guy in a Bengals jersey for some reason. Steve Smith just converted. That's it's not the Mark Ingram play, but it's it's this game's Mark Ingram play. He just gets past the marker. He catches it at about 7 yards, goes through as a rookie, by the way. This is a rookie making this play. Catches it, gets first down, gets out of bounds, too. So he does both. So now 39 seconds are on the clock. The Giants are down 14-10. They have 1st and 10. Plexico Burress is at the bottom of the screen. Manning steps back, throws it up in the air. Burress alone, touchdown New York.
And he definitely jukes his defender there.
How long in your mind was this ball in the air? Because as soon as they cut to the bottom of the screen, you can see Burress is wide open, but the ball will not get down. They cut to Peyton clapping. If I was a Colts fan, I'd be like, please don't break your hand. Like I feel like that's what. But now we can't enjoy it for long. We get reminded that Brady's warming up, and the Giants have to kick the extra point.
Well, and it's just the other thing too was that as difficult as so many of these other plays were, that one was so easy.
Yeah.
That it was like, whoa, okay.
They showed that angle. And I was like, I'm live. I'm like, get down. And actually, I forgot about that. So when we were watching this game in the fourth, I was watching this game at Andy's house. It was his original house, and he was still married. Mm-hmm. And his ex-wife at the time, his wife was upstairs watching the game on like one of those kitchen TVs, which was a little ahead because we were watching it on DirecTV. And a couple of times, Andy's younger son Al. And Andy's mom was not like a big football fan, but it was the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And a couple of times he's like, oh, Mom's making noise up there, and something happened. And then there was a couple of plays between the helmet catch and the touchdown where he was like, Mom didn't make any noise, so nothing happens.
Yeah.
And then on this play, right as Eli took the snap, because we couldn't hear her, but Al could, right as he took the snap, Al goes, Mom's screaming. And then we saw 2 seconds later what happened. And so we're going nuts. And I was running around, and then I will admit, I'll tell you when, but I mean, we're going. I'm the one going. All right, everybody, shut up, shut up. Tom Brady's got 35 seconds and 3 timeouts, and a field goal ties the game. Everybody, shut up. Like, and then they show this. I'm like, I don't need to see this right now. So then now they show Eli. Giants are up 17-14. This fourth quarter for Eli, 9 of 14, 152 yards and 2 touchdowns. Burris spent, can barely walk. And at this point, the Giants have to know, like, I mean, I guess they still have to be ready for overtime, potentially. Yeah. I was going to say the offense has to know their day's done, but I guess they got to be ready for overtime. So here's the kickoff. Kickoff from the 30 back then instead of the 35, so you got some returns. Ball only goes to the 10. I think the Giants stop him at like the 25. So the situation is 30 seconds left or 29 seconds left. Patriots are at their own, 25, 26-yard line.
And that was a nice play by the kickoff team. You know, they got to feel
not let them get to the 45.
And you can tell Diassi and some of those guys jumping up and down, guys who were not a factor in, this was not a really big special teams game. You could tell they were excited that they would get to feel like they contributed there.
Yeah, Fiegel's got the one punt or he pinned them. So I think they were probably just talking to Eli about Disneyland. Because did you see him wave like that? I'd never seen that before.
No.
He's waving
did they still do that then?
I think so. He's waving his hand like this.
Oh, jeez.
I think he's probably telling him, go away. Don't talk to me right now. I'm guessing that's what... Because it wasn't a guy in like a Giants thing. It was a guy in like a coat. I'm guessing they were telling him, hey, when this is over. And I don't know, but...
Yeah.
So Brady's in the shotgun. And remember, they still have time to do something. First down, Brady gets it off. He gets rushed. He throws it deep, but not to anybody in particular.
Ross could have picked that off.
For a second, you think Ross could have picked it off, but I don't know. I mean, it was overthrown a little.
And I don't know who his receiver was there, but that receiver was not covered.
John Mara's going into his pocket. He would say later he's doing the rosary.
Oh, gee, that's what he's doing. He's doing something there. Yeah.
He's doing a rosary in his pocket. And she Coughlin, he got it.
What? He's
just, what can he do? He's like, yeah, all right. Throw it. Coughlin's saying they have to throw it deep now.
Yeah.
He's saying it has to be deep. So, this is the play on second down. This is where it looks like they had Moss on second down, I believe. Oh, no, it's okay. Alford comes up the middle and sacks Brady, and Brady goes right to Brady's falling, calling timeout because Jay Alford comes up the middle. And at this point, camera gets really close to showing. They're showing the offensive lineman rocking back and forth. So Patriots take a timeout. Brady's dropping back. And Jay Alford, the rookie defensive tackle, just beats his man in the middle, gets the sack. Strahan's there to pick him up, but this was all Alford. Strahan might have hit him if Alford hadn't gotten there, but and the offensive line, you can tell they're going crazy, but they want to be reserved because now there's 19 seconds left. It's third down, and this is the play that I'll wait till the play happens, but. And they show Junior Seau, and you feel kind of bad. And there's Spagnuolo thinking he's got 2 more plays to call, probably. Because even if the Patriots get the first down, the clock is the bigger issue now. So you can let them pick up the first down. You don't want to, but you can.
Yeah, with 19 seconds left. And how many timeouts?
They got 2 now.
They got 2 timeouts.
Brady's in the shotgun. He's able to step into it, which is the nightmare. Moss is open for half a second. It's incomplete. Webster and Wilson are with him the whole way.
Yeah.
I was never afraid Moss was going to catch that ball. I was afraid it was going to be pass interference.
Yeah, no, that
and it's not. If you look at the replay, it's not.
It's not interference. And Moss isn't really calling for it.
But when you see the angle, it looks like, did they grab him? And to be honest, if they had grabbed him because they were beat, fair. They don't touch him at all.
They were all just playing the ball.
But for a second, I'm like, it's going to be interference. It's going to be interference. So at this point, I ran upstairs at Andy's house, and I'm watching the last play on the TV in the kitchen.
Really?
Because I watched the fourth down and then everything after this. I watched it on the TV in the kitchen. So the Patriots take their second timeout.
Why did you do that?
I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it. So Patriots take their second timeout because why not? What are you going to do? Take them into the locker room? So it's 4th and 20 now. They need at least 20 yards. They really need, there's 10 seconds. So Brady drops back. The Giants only rush 4. He steps into it again, throws it up in the air. 2 guys there. It's incomplete. There's 3 seconds left.
And I don't think on either of those plays they had Coughlin get in the water.
Coughlin gets dumped by Hedgecock with 2 seconds left. He's smiling. For some reason, they wind the clock back to 0 seconds. Brady's moving off the field. What were you saying?
On those last couple plays, I don't think there was ever any question that he was going to anybody but Moss.
Belichick is running. The guy with the flag is trying to tell him that there's still 2 seconds on the clock, but Belichick just shakes hands. Manning's trying to wave everybody off the field. The ref is telling Belichick, and Belichick hugs Coughlin and runs off the field.
So do they just never run this?
No, they run it.
They do?
Belichick's in the locker room.
Oh, jeez.
And again, they probably overdid this with Belichick. Like, oh, he's a jerk. But, like, Burris has already got the Super Bowl champions hat. And I remember I'm watching this upstairs, like, this is the longest second of my life. I'm like, I know they just have to take a knee or anything, really. But, like, there's people on the field already, and they're going, there's 1 second, there's 1 second. They're clearing the field. So, yeah, Burris has got the Super Bowl champion hat on. Nobody else does, so he must have gotten it first. And then they were like, stop. And he was probably like, I'm not giving it back.
That's right.
Yeah, so the Massachusetts, or that's Arizona, is walking Belichick off the field into the locker room. The Patriots PR guy's trying to tell him no. Coughlin's smiling, but you can tell they're telling him you got to get off the field. That's the defensive line coach hugging Strahan. Moss standing there. They got the ropes up already for the media.
Yeah.
But they still do have to take one knee. And again, realistically, they should be able to execute this successfully. But
well, especially with the way knees work these last 30 or 40 years, all the guy has to do is kneel down. There's no chance. I mean, I guess theoretically he could fumble the snap.
There's 1 second, yeah. So they're showing the sideline, but again, it's like just take the. At this point, I'm like, just take the knee. Just take the knee. I want this over. Like, I couldn't bring myself to be like. I acknowledged reality that they were about to win the Super Bowl, and Strahan's got the hat now, but they still are running it. Eli's in the huddle, and I wonder if at this point he was still like, all right, victory formation, or was he saying like, hey, good job, fellas? Like,
yeah.
So they're at the 9th, they're at the 16. Eli goes to a knee.
And there you go.
And the Giants have won the Super Bowl. First guy to hug Tom Coughlin is Lawrence Tynes. And the Giants have won the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 42, the final 17-14. The confetti comes down. It was nice for the NFL. They only had to buy one color of confetti because it was going to be red, white, and blue either way.
That's right.
And there we go. And every time I see a Cardinal game, I smile a little at this stadium now, or a college bowl game or anything, as the Giants win. My opinion, the best Super Bowl win of all time. Maybe not the best Super Bowl of all time, but the best Super Bowl win of all time. As the Giants win, you see the families out there hugging. Pam Oliver's interviewing Plexico Burris, who scored the game-winning touchdown. As they're setting up the trophy. There's only about 2 minutes left in the video, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is. That's what, and I think even going back to the days of your public radio show when we did our top 10 moments in New York sports history. This makes it. This is up there. This is up there with Bobby Thompson and Brooklyn Dodgers and Willis Reed and Bill Buckner game. This is up there. Messier and the Rangers in '94. This is a great moment, and
Coughlin putting the champion's hat on now.
And even within the four walls of the NFL, when they do the greatest plays, greatest moments, greatest games in NFL history, this always gets listed. So this is the.
That's a really cool shot with all the confetti coming down.
Yeah, with Burris being interviewed behind it. So,
he's crying.
Yeah. You forget what a big part he was of this team, especially with his sort of clowning issues.
And then you see a guy like Jeff Fiegels, the punter, but he's been in the league forever. He finally wins a Super Bowl.
Means a lot, yeah. So yeah, this is definitely a singular moment in the history of not only of the NFL, but also in the history of the Giants. To quote Mad Dog Russo, the only downside is now we still got to hear from the 72 Dolphins. But
and I went home that night. I went to bed. I was a second-year senior, so I didn't have class until like 11 the next day. Got up at about 7 o'clock in the morning, drove back to Philly, slammed 3 beers, went to class, came home, took a nap, and got up at about 4 o'clock in the morning and got on a New Jersey Transit train back up to Manhattan. And I was February 5th, 2008. I was at the Canyon of Heroes for this parade. I got to watch Michael Strahan stomp the Patriots out in City Hall, and it was, completed one of the greatest 3-day stretches of my life.
And maybe that's an interesting point, too, is that the Giants were embraced by New York City.
First parade they'd had.
Ed Koch as the mayor in the 80s, famously, I think that in the 80s and even in the 90s, the fact that they had moved to Jersey was still sort of raw. But by this point, they're just another New York team, and they get their parade, and they get another one 4 years later, and, you know, this is why Eli's going to the Hall of Fame.
Are we going to watch the next video that NFL is coming up with Wilson and Jets grounded?
No, I don't think we're going to do that.
Just live feed that.
Yeah. Well, so this was fun. I think this went really well.
I had a blast.
This was good.
We watched a whole football game, and it's still only the length of our normal episodes.
That's right. Exactly. Well, we're off for Christmas, Christmas Eve and Christmas. We're off to eat some food, drink some beer, and watch
the Giants beat the Vikings.
Watch the Giants full day of NFL football. And thank you all for joining us. Hope some of you were able to watch along. And until we catch you again, I'm Dan Newman.
And I'm Andrew Newman. 18-1. Goodbye, old sports.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude. And I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, you know, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website, seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.